Okie dokie, NFL draft night. I think we're all good to go. Candy helping me out. We're going to jump in or bring in all of the different contributors to the show, mostly after the Raiders pick, but we have a chance now up until number 17 to review what's happened so far. So what's going on, Candy? Pretty wild, and especially wild the last couple of picks. The Chargers are up now, so we'll have the Chargers pick here in just a couple seconds. And Micah Parsons just went off the board. So what's going on?
Yeah, I thought Parsons was a good fit for the Raiders. I didn't think he would go as high as 12, but if I should have guessed there was one franchise that wouldn't get itself all wrapped up in, let's say, off-the-field concerns, that's the Dallas Cowboys who end up firing. But listen, your team got itself a franchise quarterback. That is fantastic. My general manager figured out how to trade back. I am so excited to get a first-round pick next year. That's the wildest thing that just happened. The Chicago Bears trade up to number 11 to go get Justin Fields. And so Justin Fields' slide ends. Mac Jones' slide continues. And here we are, Steve, sitting here with the Chargers on the board at 13. And Rashawn Slater has slid a little bit. The tackle from Northwestern. I don't know about you, but it feels to me like this is about a perfect match.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need to go cornerback, but two guys are off the board already. They definitely need some offensive line help. The recent drafts just haven't helped them a whole lot. But what is shaping up here is pretty interesting because if the Raiders do want an offensive lineman, because of the quarterback slide and now a trade up, and because the cornerbacks are coming off the board, maybe the Raiders have a chance at a better offensive lineman than we thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they wanted to potentially make a move here, a couple picks, then a guy like Slater, who very honestly, if you've listened to a lot of the draft experts that we've talked to over the last couple of months, have said, look, Slater is every bit as good as Sewell. It's just a matter of, Sewell has a few more of the physical tools that, that measure up. So in the end, it could be a really interesting pick. And guess what? The pick is in for the Chargers as of right this moment. So we are waiting to see who ends up going.
We got a lot of people in the room, so if you want to jump up with some comments, questions, a lot has happened already. We're going to do a good hour tonight at least. The Raiders do, and then we'll get some reaction from our folks around Vegas and around country. Yeah, let's see. They're going on camera out to Vera Tucker, who might be a little high here. So we'll see what the Chargers do. Their pick is in. Started off the night with Trevor Lawrence. No surprise there. By the way, were you getting annoyed with the first two picks that it was taking so long? I saw so many people on social media who were like, what's going on? Let's get a move on. And, of course, most of them are on the East Coast like, I'm here. I don't know what the rush is. They can take all the time you want. There's 10 minutes on the clock. We get to think about it. We get to talk football. We get to react on social media. Again, like, why is everyone in a big hurry?
If you're someone who was doing that, then I hope you didn't tune into any of the 3 months of draft coverage that we did leading up to those 10 minutes that you had to wait. You were waiting 3 months. You had plenty going on in those 3 months. You can wait 10 minutes for them to make their pick. What if someone calls from Green Bay and says, we'll offer you Aaron Rodgers, right? What if it got that bad in those 10 minutes? Then what do? You listen, take the 10 minutes. Rashawn Slater is the pick for the Los Angeles Chargers. That, to me, is exactly what they needed and probably a little better than I thought they would do at 13.
Was his over or under, I think it might have been a 10.5.
Yeah.
So,
the cornerbacks blew up most people's mock drafts. Having Horn and Surtain go at 8-9, that's what kind of screwed everybody so far.
Yeah. Broncos did not take a quarterback. It was funny. When I was driving over to the Battleborn Broadcast Center, I was listening to ESPN Las Vegas and the national coverage. By the way, who did Rashawn Slater just hug? Who looked like he was like 7'4" or 500. But when I was driving over, I was listening to the ESPN national coverage, and Elle Duncan was on, and apparently she's a Broncos fan, and she was fucking flipping out before the pick that they have to take a quarterback. And every guy on the show is arguing with her like, they already have two quarterbacks. A lot of people like Drew Lock. They have a lot of other needs. And she's like, Lock sucks. No, don't, you have to take a quarterback. And then as I was walking in, I saw that they took Patrick Surtain. So I'm sure she freaking completely melted down. But it kind of goes back to what we talked a lot about during the draft. And we'll see how this unfolds. I never felt comfortable with saying that all 5 of the big-time quarterbacks, supposed big-time quarterbacks, were going to go in like the top 9, because trends are hard to break in the National Football League. And this league, especially now that it's even more of a passing league than it was, corners are highly coveted. They are highly coveted. So are defensive players and guys who can get to the quarterback. And that's why Parsons flips. So then, like, I think the trade up of the Bears might be the biggest surprise so far, but I'm not shocked at anything that's happened. What was the most shocking thing for you, aside from the Bears trading back? Or check that, the Giants trading back.
I mean, really, that was a huge shock to me. But if you're going to talk about someone who actually came off the board being a shock, the Panthers going J.C. Horn at 8.
Yeah.
And choosing to go defense after spending an entire draft last year going nothing but defense. Matt Rule and Joe Brady have more confidence in what they have around Sam Darnold than I do, because you could have gone offensive line. You could have grabbed Devontae Smith. There are many different ways you could have gone with Carolina. In my opinion, you downgraded a quarterback going from Bridgewater to Darnold. And what have you put around him? Nothing. I mean, you bring back Christian McCaffrey. Great. Other than that, there's nothing.
Well, but I trust him in getting value later in the draft. He obviously is building defense first, and then although, you don't want Darnold walking into the same situation he was in with the Jets, where the no one around him and the offensive line was pretty crappy. So 13th pick is in. Chargers in the AFC West taking offensive lineman. I like that a lot. So far, Lawrence to the Jaguars, Zach Wilson to the Jets, Trey Lance to the Niners. We're going to ask everyone tonight about Trey Lance. So how surprised were you there, and how much did you make? You don't need to give me the dollar amount, but I know you were in position to do well if Lance went to the Niners.
Hang on. Breaking news, Mr. Cofield, that you're going to be interested in.
We got
the New York Jets have traded up with Minnesota.
Okay.
The Jets have gone into the 14th spot. Who are they going to get, Steve? Who do they want?
My guess would be a receiver. Nope, he's gone already. Devontae Smith. He went to the Eagles. I don't know. Who do you think? Who is it, audience?
If you're coming back up, you're coming back up for skill, right? I don't think you're coming back up for heft. I don't think you're coming back up for an offensive lineman. So
my 4th wide receiver.
Most of the talk around the wide receivers ended at 10, right? Like we talked about Chase, we talked about Waddle, we talked about Smith. I don't see where it is there. The cornerbacks that we've talked about are gone. Could they be coming back up for Kwity Paye? Could they be coming back up for an edge rusher? Right? It's not like they're set at any one position. So I don't know. I feel like maybe you're looking at getting one of the few edge rushers available here if you're the Jets, just when I quickly scan through positions on the field.
Would they move up to get the other side of the line all set and then have 2 bookend guys left side with Becton, the Giant, and then pick someone on the right side? Could you like someone enough that you would trade draft capital to go from 3 to 14?
Yeah, I mean, look, where was that second pick? Where was the Jamal Adams pick that they had from the Seahawks? Down the 20s, right?
Yep.
So you've made the move up from the 20s. We haven't seen, of course, what they've given up yet. Minnesota, I think, makes an astute trade to move back in that spot as well. But yeah, if you're the Jets, you could absolutely go offensive line and say we got to protect Wilson. That makes perfect sense. I just can't see where it's going to be for offensive skill based on who's still available, right? There's nobody there that you come back up to get. That's why I was thinking maybe edge rusher, just because there are so few edge rushers who can make a difference in this draft.
Miller J, is this a prediction, or did someone already leak it? And I like a lot of people just assuming the Jets maybe forgot that they got Zach Wilson. Like let's have the position covered. Let's just have it covered, and we'll take Mac Jones too.
I like it. All right, so look, you had a chance to watch plenty of Zach Wilson this year with BYU, so you never really have any reaction thus far to the pick. Is it fit for you?
I'm still not over the Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. That what
I just don't know that there's that much of a difference between Mac Jones and Lance and Fields and Wilson.
But you were listening today, I hope. You heard Joe Theismann earlier, right? You heard Joe Theismann tell us earlier that he actually doesn't think there's a huge gap between Lawrence and Zach Wilson. I'm trying to build you up here. I'm trying to take Jolt and Joe Theismann and let him pump you up a little bit.
I heard it all week. I heard a lot of different football experts say, basically the difference between Lawrence and Wilson is the 2 years of hype around Lawrence, and that Wilson is right there with him. I'll tell you what, when you watch the draft unfold on ESPN, Mel Kiper took a position, didn't he? Did you notice what he said?
Oh boy, did he.
He was in on Sam Darnold, and that's kind of the way I felt. But, man, he, without killing the pick, he killed the move of Sam Darnold, and he said, I had Darnold rated higher than I have Zach Wilson right now, and I don't think they gave him a fair shot.
4 years, though. I mean, that's really the question here, right? Like, you gave the guy the better part of 4 years.
Yeah.
So what do you think was left to find out about Sam Darnold? If the Jets made the decision that they were getting rid of him, what is it that they didn't see? Right? Because they were watching the guy in practice. So whether or not it was a matter of how he performed in the games with what they didn't put around him, they had the guy in the building for long enough that my question to you would be like, do you trust anybody who was involved in that evaluation process? And if you said no, I would completely agree with you based on what we saw out of Adam Gase and company.
And it's one of those, like, I don't think any Jets fan, well, maybe some are, and even Kiper, I don't think no one's 100% on Sam Darnold. You just feel like, hey, they should have given him some weapons and given him a chance. But the biggest thing I think they accomplish here is restarting the salary clock. And you were going to have to make a commitment to Sam Darnold for year 5. And then we're talking about, upwards of whatever, $17, $18 million. And I think they just figured, we just don't know enough about him and we'll restart. Now, I will say, as I was watching him, and Kiper said this, like, the Jets could be looking right now at Sam Darnold, a former top 5 pick in the draft, and Jalen Waddle. Instead, right now, they're looking at some savings economically, but it's Zach Wilson instead of both of those guys.
Well, I think you got to wait for a second here and find out what they decide to do with 14, right? Because now they've actually gone back up and tried to, I don't know what they're going to pair here with getting Zach Wilson, but I'm not. Look, I agree with the idea that Darnold did not have help, but the idea that Darnold's going to go from a Pro Football Focus quarterback ranked in the 30s up to a guy that you want to give that second contract to over the next 12 plus months doesn't fit for me.
Joe Brady.
I don't see it.
Look what Joe Brady did with Joe Burrow. He's the
I'm saying in New York.
Oh, okay.
In New York.
Yeah.
Oh, with Robert Saleh. Yeah,
with Robert Saleh and the younger LaFleur. So I don't know, man. If they had a trade from 23 to 14 to get a wide receiver, that seems weird to me. This is intriguing. We got a little mystery here.
It won't be for long because it looks like Raji Raj is out on the stage right now.
What's everyone picking? What do you think? What is it in our chat room? And yes, the Patriots are on the clock already. So, as Candy said, the pick is in. Now, when you get a traded pick, do they move another one of the fans into?
Yeah, like they kick the fan out of the chair. I love that.
Like, get out.
Exactly what you do.
Sorry, Vikings.
No. Sit down. Get Ragnar sitting. Hold on. Why are they showing Mac Jones in the green room? Steve, they wouldn't do it, would they?
Could they do it
for someone else?
To pick for someone else. I don't know. There's like Jets fans there. They seem very happy. Ooh, that's a good Jets jacket. They got up on ESPN right now.
Well, all right. Someone has been chosen. Flash the name for us. We're at your mercy here, ESPN.
Our chat room is saying it's Vera Tucker.
Yeah, it is Vera Tucker.
I don't love him any more than any of the other offensive linemen available. By the way, that also means that Darrisaw is starting to slip towards the Raiders. But like I said earlier, I'm fine, man. Getting another offensive lineman. I don't know if he's inside or outside, but if they think he's another stud offensive lineman, now you got 2 studs up on the front line. I'm good with that. I'm sure there are a lot of Jets fans all pissed off right now, and they wanted some weapon, or I'm sure some of them were asking for like Najee Harris at 14. But that is there a problem with that pick? Because some people don't have him slated as definitely a right tackle prospect.
Because the thing is, here's what I can't understand. It's a 9-pick move, right? It's a 9-pick move. And have we seen the compensation on this one yet? Have we seen what it cost them in order to move up? Because that to me is the real question here if you're the Jets, right? I love the idea of going and getting the player that you want, but you just said, was there a big difference between Vera Tucker and Darrisaw and anybody else rated closely in there? Because I think that's the question, is how much did you give up to move back up to get your guy? I'm still looking for it there. Drop it in the chat room if you have it, because we're trying to see what happens.
Vikings sent the 14, and a 4th rounder. Jets gave up 2 third rounders along with the 23. So 66 and 86.
So basically a pick swap for a 3-4 and then gave up another 3 to move up 9 spots. Yeah, it's not completely unreasonable. I mean, look at what the Bears had to do to move up 9 spots. They had to give up next year's first in order to do that. And let's be honest here, looking at where that Bears team was, I don't care that they made the playoffs in that crappy NFC race, right? Like that team could easily be in the middle of the first round next year, and the Giants could have 2 top 15 picks.
Well, they showed Mac Jones on earlier, and it looks like, God, I was hoping.
I mean, it fits too well. Come on, this fits too perfectly, doesn't it?
Jesus.
Kuiper compared him to a young Tom Brady coming out of Michigan just like half an hour ago.
Is the pick in yet or not?
The pick is in. You know it's Mac Jones. They went that fast. Come on. Kids coming off the board.
Come on.
22. I'm ready for it.
Be a defensive player. Be Christian Barmore. That was my pick in our ESPN Las Vegas drafting for dough contest. Come on. Pick a defensive player. Skip Mac Jones.
Nope.
Skip Mac Jones.
Twommy Brady II is here to torture you for the next 15 years.
I'm not even going to look at. I'm not looking at the chat room, and I'm not looking.
I'll watch Raj for you. I can do it.
Defensive player. He loves defensive.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Raj is ready. They're going to pan to the green room. They're going to do it in a second. Go to the Mac Jones pod. Let me see it. Oh God, we're too busy talking about charity. I don't need to hear about charity. You got other days to talk about charity. I need picks. Feed me. Feed me now.
The drama.
Oh, we're bringing up someone else to make the pick. Okay, that's fine. I'm sure he's a very worthy human being. I think the volume off. I can't tell. I don't know. I don't care.
This is what they decide to do. The chat. I mean, they predetermined it. I'm sure, and I'm sure it's a wonder charity.
There he goes, baby. The Mac attack on the way to Boston.
Son of a bitch.
Billy didn't even have to move up.
Well, but you know what? For the rest of the AFC East, this is you got another villain in New England. Look at these Patriot fans. God, I hope he stinks. Sorry, man. I don't want to root against a kid before he's even played in the NFL. God, I hope he stinks.
How could they disrespect Cam Newton like this?
Look at the childbearing hips on Mac Jones. Look at the wide girth, and not the right kind of girth on a guy. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Friend of the show, George Shahuri from Pro Football Focus, I believe, referred to him as Teletubby Jones the other day, which I think fit very nicely. Sean, listen, that's not information that we needed. Like JVT can talk areolas all day long. I don't need to hear about it. Like, no, Gil, no. Come on.
It is funny. Zach Wilson's the one you'd figure would look like he's like 31 years old, having got you, and Mac Jones actually looks like he's in his 30s. So, all right. Well, what a freaking storyline for the National Football League that now Belichick has absolute expectations again, and talk about setting things up. Cam Newton against freaking Mac Jones. How did he get Mac Jones on the field, and what does Cam do to hold him off, or does Cam have no shot at the job?
Cam's here for this year. Mac Jones is going to play next year. Bill Belichick's not putting a rookie quarterback on the field. There's no way, no how, no chance Bill Belichick is putting Mac Jones into game 1 of the NFL season this year. If you're Belichick, you've had a master plan on this, right? Bill Belichick didn't just fall into the 15th pick and decide, okay, well, I guess Mac Jones is there. I'll take him. Who else am I going to grab? Oh, I mean, the Patriots had a plan for this, and it fell exactly the way they wanted it to. And by the way, for everybody who talked about Mac Jones is going number 3 to the Niners, there were some folks out there who said, well, we've heard it. We know. No, you didn't. And this is what happens. A guy who didn't even have a first-round grade on him at the end of the season does not move up to number 3. It doesn't happen. So you asked me earlier, you said, did I make money on Trey Lance?
How to work out?
I did well enough. I had equal amounts on him and Justin Fields, so I kind of had it covered around Mac Jones, and obviously I had the shorter number on Lance at about 3-1. But I also had Mac Jones over 9 at plus 230. So, I'm doing fine right now. The rest of my draft will be determined by how stupid the Pittsburgh Steelers decide to get, because I have Najee Harris over 28, over 29 in multiple places, and I just need the Steelers to not get stupid, and then everything will be great.
This was awesome. So let's check out the board right now for the Raiders. This is setting up nicely, unless they decide to pull the El Richo. So what do you like? Who do the Cardinals take that could go over the Raiders?
Well, Cardinals pick is in, so we're not going to have to wait long on this. I want to get a look at the big board here and make sure that I'm seeing everybody potentially available, because I've been tracking so hard on the Mac Jones stuff that I didn't check to see who's still left on the best available. Let's pull that list up here right now and see who might be a good fit for the Raiders. Like we talked about earlier, Steve, there is no spot that this team doesn't need. How about the linebacker from Notre Dame? I can't say his name. You know which kid I'm talking about.
Owusu Koromoa.
Owusu Koromoa. Thank you. Now that you said it, now it makes a lot more sense. Look, I've heard so many draft evaluations about this kid being a physical freak. One of those guys with an absolute world of talent who just needs to be put in the right position to succeed. What have we heard over and over again about Gus Bradley's defense? Our guy, Stanford Rout, has talked about it multiple times. See a guy, hit a guy, go run and smack somebody. So that's something that could fit very well. Look, I don't understand why Kwity Paye is still on the board from Michigan. There aren't a lot of edge rushers available, and this team needs someone to put opposite of Ngakoue, because I'll tell you very honestly, I am not a Max Crosby believer. Maybe they are. I think it would be good to add someone in that spot too. The other thing you could do, Steve, is if you believe that we talked about Caleb Farley earlier today, right? They could use more help in the defensive backfield. I don't care how many times you've drafted there. It hasn't really worked yet. So what do you think? That's some options. I'm not saying Morig, because if they draft a safety this high, it's nuts to me.
Yeah. Well, that was my pick on the air today, was Morig. I think I also said Vera Tucker was a possibility, but they've got Darisaw, who's very highly touted, could probably walk in and start at right tackle. As you said, Owusu Koromoa would fill the need of a linebacker. Also, a linebacker can actually cover tight ends, which is gigantic. And I still believe, like you said, Caleb Farley would be a nice selection. They need another guy in the cornerback mix. So Raj is up now. And
Zaven Collins, linebacker from Tulsa.
So a lot of people love him. They thought maybe he could be the best guy of the three. All right, so pretty much every name, except for a sliding Micah Parsons, every name that we heard for the Raiders, except for Vera Tucker. I think everyone else is gone. That was supposed to be gone. So they could take the safety, too high. They could take a cornerback. As you mentioned, they could take a defensive end. There were a lot of people who connected Barmore, who is probably a multiple position guy. But the gap between, as the inside guys, the gap between Barmore and the rest of the defensive tackle class to, guys like Pat Kerwin, who's on Sirius XM, was really good. Former player and front office guy. He likes him a lot. And so we got like five guys. We got hundreds of guys to pick from, but 5 targets have been mentioned.
Not here, though. Not here. I mean, and look, it would fit what we've seen from Mike Mack and John Gruden to say we are going to take the guy we like the best at a position that we think is more important than everybody else, defensive tackle, and of course to draft someone with the Alabama or Clemson pedigree. Right? Fits everything they've done over the first few years. But my God, Steve, there are so many athletically talented players on this board at positions that they really need help at, that it could be a perfect marriage of actually drafting for need and drafting one of the best players available, so that you're not reaching for need. Barmore would be a reach for need. Barmore would absolutely be a luxury at a position this team doesn't need a luxury at. They need help at positions other than defensive tackle.
Let's think out of the box. What do the Packers need? So when Derek Carr, this pick, and 2 more firsts go to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers, what do the Packers need?
Ooh, that I like. That I absolutely like. Boy, wouldn't you love to slot in someone next to Jair Alexander? Wouldn't you like to have your cornerback on the other side and have 2 lockdowns now that you have Justin Fields coming into the division with Chicago? I'm not saying Justin Fields is a day one starter. I'm just saying you have a competent quarterback to throw to Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney and the rest of the guys there, right?
Yep.
Wouldn't you like to have two competent cornerbacks to cover Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen?
Be nice.
I love the idea of Farley to Green Bay if somehow that could happen.
Do we bet Pecos $5? Is it? Are we just plucking $5 from him? It just candy from a baby. He's saying $5. They take a receiver. The Raiders take a receiver.
Oh, if you think they're taking a receiver in this spot, I can't actually take your $5 because, Steve, this front office, what's a sure thing? Really? What is a sure thing for the seriously though? Like, what would you say about the way these two draft that would fit?
I like I said today, the reach for need, the crazy reach for need.
No, exactly.
Hey, Caleb, you got us?
Yeah, I got you guys. You got me?
Wow, look at this. This setup's working.
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm getting this thing. All right, well, Caleb's going to stick around with us for a couple minutes at least. We'll react to the Raiders pick here in a second. What do you think the Raiders should do? You got just about every position that they have some interest in. You got a good cornerback, we think. He's an opt-out guy, but Caleb Farley. You got Darisaw, the offensive lineman, is there. You still have Owusu Koromoa, who's a linebacker who's maybe not the downhill guy that Micah Parsons is, and he went to the Cowboys earlier. So pretty much everyone I think positions they'd be interested in are still available and pretty good players.
Yeah, I think it's really take your pick moment right now for as far as filling those needs. I think a lot of those guys could definitely help improve the defense. I think this pick has to be defense. But if you go with the Raiders, I think you just look at who the fastest guy is, and you say that's probably who they're going to pick right now of the guys that are available. But I definitely think that any of those defensive players would upgrade the roster. I'm looking at Bartmore being from D tackle from Alabama, making that defensive line. He's not the typical stocky, short kind of interior defensive lineman. But I think about the New York Giants pass rush that they had in the Super Bowl win with Strahan and Osu on that line, where they basically had 4 edge rushers that were playing on that defensive line to make their pass rush almost unblockable. And I think not as quite as talented with Max Crosby, on that front line, and the guys they brought in during free agency. But I think that could be one of the moves where you get a solid pass rush, so you can only have to rush 4. Obviously, the Raiders need help stopping the run, and when you need to stop the run, you can go after a linebacker. And I think best available, Jeremiah right now, the best available defensive. So you can't go wrong with that. The Raiders can't mess this pick up, is what I'm saying. Essentially, you have to make a pick that's solid.
Those are dangerous words, Caleb. Those are dangerous words.
Someone pops off the board who's still the third best guy available at the position. Is that a possibility from the Raiders?
It is. Absolutely, it is. I mean, I think this was the same thing that I said last year with Henry Ruggs, right? Like when Henry Ruggs got picked, I just said I'd laughed at it. Like he's not even the best available at that position. Why would you pick him? But I wouldn't put it past the realm of possibility for the Raiders.
Roll the dice on which Alabama or Clemson player could go here if it's not Barmore.
I can't really roll the dice on that one. I don't know. So only Alabama and Clemson, right?
Well, I'm saying it's only Alabama or Clemson.
It can only be that. I don't know.
Raj is on his way up, guys. Raj is on his way up to make the Raiders pick.
I'm nervous.
Darisaw. Come on, it's the obvious one. He can go right into right tackle. He's the highest rated tackle on the board right now. Mel Kiper Jr. got Elijah Moore, Jalen Phillips, Darisaw, Davis, the line, Kentucky, and Kwity Paye is his top 5 available right now. Come on, there's so many options here. Let's do it. Darisaw.
Oh my God! You've got to be kidding me.
That's not the pick. That can't be the pick. There's a typo.
No. Please tell me they didn't take a kid who has been a consensus 2nd round grade.
Do it.
Caleb, I'm not going to say you jinxed it, but you might have jinxed it. Like you might, you said there was no way for them to screw this up. Look, you don't even have to say anything, man. Just the look.
I don't know. Somebody just got fired. I don't know what happened just now. We should have seen this coming. Honestly, because of the way that this offseason started, when free agency hit and the way the Raiders attacked the offseason adjustments on their roster, when they blew up the offensive line, when they went and got a running back from Arizona and overpaid for it, we should have known that the mindset was not in the right place, right? Fixing the defense was everybody's main priority. And, when you didn't do it in free agency, we kind of leaned on maybe you'll do it in the draft, but you just wasted the 17th pick with the best available player being a defensive player, with a host of other great defensive players that you mentioned before, Steve, being available, and you pick an offensive guard. I don't know. I don't understand it. Derek Carr needs protection, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You create the issue. I mean, the issue was not the offensive line going into this offseason, right? They had a solid offensive line. You created that issue by trading away and giving up your best offensive lineman, and now you solve it by using your first-round draft pick to go get an offensive guard. It doesn't make any sense, but hey, it is what it is, right?
6-dimensional chess. It's exactly what it is. We can't even see the other 3 dimensions that John Gruden and Mike Mayock are working in. Our man, Jonathan Von Tobel, just researched the Circus Sports draft prop on Alex Leatherwood. His over-under number was 39.5. And he goes at 17 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, guys, we said, could there be an Alabama or Clemson player we weren't thinking about? And there it is.
Yeah, that's insane to me. I really don't understand the thinking here. I do not. I cannot comprehend. Was he even the best offensive lineman available at this point?
Oh, no.
I mean, come on.
I'll let you in on a little secret there. I saw Leatherwood about a minute before I started chanting Darisaw just to build it up. Like, I mean, again, offensive line, they may have picked the right guy. We don't know, but it's just the Raiders consistently with playing the draft game when every year people are like, wait, the consensus is that guy's available 20 picks from now. Why'd you grab him now? It's amazing. They do it every single year. It's bizarro.
And I think it's even more amazing this year when the issue was so glaringly not on this side of the ball. It's fine to go get that pick if it's kind of up in the air. You really don't know what you need to fix. But I think the overall consensus was that defense was the issue, is a priority. And I don't know. I don't. This one feels different. There's been picks for the Raiders that have, kind of maybe rubbed me the wrong way. But Henry Ruggs was like, you want to go get a receiver? Yeah. It wasn't the right receiver, but it was still a receiver. Now it's like, well, what are you doing here?
I just see Kuiper with the hands, and he's gesturing, he's flipping. This is craziness. But
you know what it does? It makes the Cowboys look good. The Cowboys were getting ready to be the laughing stock of the first round, in my opinion, for trading to your division rival for that pick. To move up to get Smith. I mean, now it makes the Cowboys look like geniuses. I mean, that pick just doesn't make any sense. There's no spin that you could put on that pick that makes it make sense to me. There's nothing you could say to make sense.
The Athletic had Leatherwood as their number 45 overall player. Pro Football Focus had Leatherwood as their number 40 overall player. Last season, he graded 46th in overall out of tackles in college football. And to the point that we were talking about a minute ago, Caleb, I've seen him now listed in some places as a guard, in some places as a tackle. And I think in large part, it's because he's a tweener, because the knock on him has been he doesn't have the mobility to play tackle. I mean, he has the size to play tackle, but every evaluation you read of the guy says limited mobility, struggles with quicker edge rushers. Well, that's today's NFL.
It's the NFL. Exactly. That's what I mean. If you're drafting the guy that can't guard or can't block the guys that are going to be rushing, that doesn't make sense to me to make him the number 17th pick. It's one of those guys, if he's available with your later picks, you go for him then. Like you said, you have a need. You have a definitive need on defense. All 3 levels, by the way. It's not like you just have a linebacker that you need and you really wanted Parsons and you couldn't get him. No, you need secondary guys. You need guys at linebacker. You need guys on the defense. You need everything on defense. And you use your number 17 pick to get an offensive guard that's a tweener that nobody – and don't give me the smartest guys in the room thing either. Like you just know something about this that that we don't. There's nothing. I mean, nobody had this guy as a number 17 pick, but the Raiders, and hopefully it works out. I mean, we'll see, but I'm disappointed with the pick. Honest, I wanted to try to hide it here, but I'm disappointed with that pick.
You snapped. Does anyone? Andy, I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you, but I am curious. Was he a field bet by both Circa and Westgate? I wonder if he was anywhere.
No, Leatherwood 30-1 to the Raiders at Superbook.
Dang it! I would have loved to have that.
Why would you have had that though, Steve? Like, what indicator would anyone have to have that?
Well, I mean, I think in the future, the one thing to do when you're betting the Raiders' first round pick is look for as many Clemson and Alabama players down the line. You may as well roll I'm not saying bet like 6 of them, but if they're on the board, these guys love Alabama. They love freaking Clemson. Holy crap.
It's like it's either a personal relationship with those programs or it's the best 2 teams in college. We got to draft from there, right? It makes sense. It's like probably the laziest draft mentality, if that's the case. I don't think that's the case, where you just go, oh, these are the 2 best teams. If we get a player from their team, then naturally our team will become one of the best teams in the NFL. That's just, I mean, that's the only logic you could think of. Like what's the rationale? And that's not, to me, that's, you had an Alabama player available that fit your need much more than an offensive guard did. A defensive tackle makes way more sense and Barmore than Leatherwood does. I'm coming unhinged here. I don't understand this pick. It just doesn't make any sense. Steve, make it make sense to me.
He can't do that. He can't do that. Look, we talked to Rich Ehrenberger earlier today on the show, and he named off a number of guys that could have been potential options, none of which were Alex Leatherwood. And you look on the board right now, Darisaw is still on the board. Tevin Collins is still on the board. Eichenberg from Notre Dame, who was kind of a low first round, high second round kind of guy, was still on the board. Vic Tafur covers the Raiders for The Athletic, said very definitively, one way or the other, they were going tackle. But Caleb, man, that's the problem. You've talked about it repeatedly already, that defense was the clear need. And they get this tunnel vision of saying, we have to draft this. We need this. And they went and got a tackle, which, as you mentioned, the only reason they need a tackle is because they opened the spot.
And that's the most frustrating thing about it. If you started the offseason, before free agency, just when the Raiders were eliminated from playoff contention, and you knew, like, okay, this offseason, what do we need to fix? You go into that meeting room. There's no way on earth that anybody with a football IQ, that watched the Raiders play, that knows anything about football, would have said anything other than, we need defense. Whether it's attacking it through free agency, whether it's holding off through the draft, you knew at the end of the 2020 season that you needed defense, right? There hasn't been, in my estimation, a major defensive move that has fixed anything about the Raiders defense that leads me to believe that defense will be anything better than it was in 2020. And yet you do not use your top 20 draft pick to go out and fill that need when you have the best available player being a defensive player, a linebacker at that, which everybody knows the need at linebacker when you're talking about stopping the run, being versatile on a second level. It's important, right? You can go Caleb Farley, one of the better defensive players in the league. When you're talking about in a division where you got Jerry Jeudy, you got Tyreek Hill, you got a pass game nightmare across the board, and you do nothing to kind of help defend yourself against that onslaught of receivers. With the Chargers, with that howitzer, with Justin Herbert down there in San Diego. I mean, you're now looking at a team that's going to be attacked relentlessly. Their defense, it's absolutely it's ridiculous. How you don't draft defense in this draft with your first pick? It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. I want to be the optimist, and I usually am, but here it just makes no sense. Make it make sense to me, Steve.
Our rant for the last 5 minutes also overshadowed the fact that an edge rusher went right after to the Dolphins from Miami, Jalen Phillips. So now you can kind of pit what Leatherwood does and what some of the other offensive linemen after him do, and also pit Jalen Phillips against Leatherwood. If Phillips is one of these guys who's a 10-sack dude and a monster on the edge, Raiders could have used that. So Football team is up now. We'll see what.
They go linebacker.
Okay.
So
So they're going with Davis.
Jamin Davis, yeah, from Kentucky.
So another linebacker.
Okay,
More
Dave.
defense, right?
Okay,
Wow, everybody else is getting a picture.
let's keep talking defense here because my man, he's now officially my man, Dave Gettleman, trades back smartly, trades back 9 picks, gets a first-round pick next year from the Bears. And I'm going to tell you what, a player that a lot of people had mocked to the Giants at 11 is still sitting there at 20 in Kwity Paye from Michigan. This team needs edge rushers. Caleb, you just talked about the glory days when that line had Strahan and Justin Tuck and Osi Umenyiora. Make it so, Dave. Come on, make it 2 for 2 tonight. I never thought you would get it right trading back out of that 11 spot, but make it right. Go
Makes
get
sense,
a player
right?
like him.
That's manipulating the draft to your advantage. What you need, filling the need. And a lot of people saw Smith or trying to go get a receiver with that 11 spot. And I didn't agree with that. I think the Giants actually are okay at receiver as far as getting production from the receiving corps, especially when you get Saquon Barkley back, who's a threat as a receiver from the backfield. So I definitely agree with you. Smart play going back, trading back because your need, what you need, you don't need to be at the 11 pick. You can get more out of this draft by trading that pick away. Absolutely makes sense. We'll see what they do with this pick, but I think it does make sense. And I think there's been things in this draft that did make sense. And for the most part, though, I think it's gone pretty much the way it should have. I think there's a couple surprises, but I definitely think the Giants with this pick have a potential to get their defensive line at least back to kind of the glory days, like you said. And I think I'm surprised, honestly, that more teams after that Super Bowl, after what the Giants were able to do, rushing 4 with basically 4 edge rushers up front. I just don't understand why more teams haven't kind of followed that mold, especially the way that the league has trended since then. I mean, it's more so a passing league than it was back in, the early 2000s or the mid 2000s. Now everybody's throwing the ball 30 times a game. Why not invest in 4 edge rushers up front, 3 edge rushers up front to create that mismatch? And we'll see if that's what the Giants decide to do to kind of rebuild that model. But I think it should be mimicked more. And I was kind of excited for the potential of what the Raiders could have done with it, but they didn't draft defense. So, I mean, we'll see.
So as a quarterback, Caleb, talk to me about this, because what I heard both Super Bowls where the Giants beat the Patriots was that it was the pressure up the middle that was the real problem for Tom Brady. And so as a quarterback, is there a difference for you between pressure from the middle and pressure from the edge?
Oh, 100%. The interior pressure is the scariest thing you can have. One, it's more immediate, right? And 2, the way you can manipulate a pocket kind of relies on edge rushing. Like I don't mind my tackle getting beat as long as he's still on his feet, because I can step up to avoid that. Because the inside of the inseam, I guess, of the pocket, if you think of the shape of the pocket, right? Like the edges are supposed to have things spill out over and then kind of you protect in the middle. But if somebody's breaking down the middle, there's nowhere to step up. There's nowhere to escape to. And you better be running a 4-4 to try to escape out of the back door, which, Tom Brady, he does not have that. So that's why it was so effective against him. Like he couldn't escape anywhere when that pressure's coming to the middle. And it also frees up, the single team or the one-on-one matchups on the edge, because you can't have guards popping out to help if you have a mean guy in the middle, because look at what Aaron Donald's doing. He's demanding 2 people at all times. So anybody who's an edge rusher in Aaron Donald's defense is going to have one-on-one matchups. They're going to have their two-way go on any tackle because it's an island out there. So I, as a quarterback, I was afraid more of interior pressure. Mike will blitzes up the middle. Those were the things that really worried me. But granted, having a dominant edge rusher like Khalil Mack or somebody who's going to beat their block, in the first second of the rush, that's scary too. But I can always step up. If that interior's falling apart, whether it's, because my guards aren't good enough or because that interior rush is just so fierce, that's nerve-wracking. And then even a step further, with that Giants team, what they did in the Super Bowls was they were able to get pressure with just 4 guys. They didn't have to blitz. So now you can play coverage while the quarterback's running for his life. It's a win-win situation. And against non-scrambling quarterbacks, it definitely is a win-win situation. I think, the Giants are kind of poised in the division right now. As it stands, there's not really mobile quarterbacks in the NFC. I mean, Dak Prescott was, but he's not a running guy. He tries to stay in the pocket, especially now after his injury. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, we'll see how he pans out, but even still, getting pressure with 4 is the most important thing, I think, for defenses to focus on in today's NFL with the way that teams are passing the ball and trying to drop their quarterback back 40, 50 times a game in order to win.
What was going on? Did you guys see the shot? I don't know if you could see it, Caleb, but Kwity Paye, they just showed him at his house, or wherever he is. I guess he's in Denver. And do they have the lights out for, like, is it like a jinx? Are they superstitious? What's going on there? That was weird.
Dramatic effect? I don't know.
Okay.
It's just like a surprise party, but everybody already knows that it's a party. I don't know.
This could end up being one of the greatest reveal shots ever, right? Like, what was our favorite last year when Jerry Jeudy ripped the phone out of his girlfriend's hand?
Oh, that was
that was the one that everybody got up on last year. Yeah. Like, maybe this will give us our
What
moment.
if they turn the lights on and he already has the jersey on, right? Like he
already
he knew this would happen. Like he was, he's some sort of fortune teller. He's been in contact. I don't know. That'd be great.
I like it.
I thought on Twitter they were saying he's wearing blue and red. So
Giants
better,
maybe
even better. Come on, Giants. Come on, don't. I already had to stop myself once with Gruden going for Leatherwood. Come on, don't hurt me like this. I'm already so excited that Dave Gettleman traded back today.
The lights go on. The lights go on, and he's sitting in the war room with the management team, and like that would be great. Like, this is our war room.
You missed your calling, man. You should be doing events. All right, Raj is about to make it happen. I believe there's a guy in an LT jersey in the chair, which is a good omen.
You know what? Get a weapon. Get a weapon. Think offense, Gettleman. Get a weapon. Come on.
You've had a nice day, Cofield. You don't need to bring anybody else down.
Let's go, man. Who's in that stupid Giant?
Okay, look, this is a little overdraft, but I don't mind it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, tell him.
I got to look. It's Kadarius Toney from Florida. Again, the defense has needs. There's no question about that. And Caleb, I still think Kwity Paye was probably the right way to go for this defense. But man, I've watched enough Kadarius Toney both at Florida and then and since that. I'm not gonna lie. He's a guy you can get excited about.
There it is.
No, Caleb hates the pick so much he turned his camera off. He's like, no, I don't even want to tear that guy apart. Like, I don't want him talking about Kadarius Toney like that.
I think he said the kids were going to be kind of noisy tonight, so he may have gone to go take care of business. Who knows? Maybe it's my TV. I don't know. This party looks like it's freaking. There's no lights on either. What the hell's going on? I got some old ass TV in my studio here. I should draft up right here.
Kadarius Toney, according to ESPN, had an overall grade of 32nd. So it is an overdraft by Dave Gettleman and company, but that's not terribly surprising. But I mean, Steve, the kid's a game breaker. Like the speed that he has. I know the size is a huge question with him being 6 foot, 193, but you've got the big receiver in Kenny Golladay for this team now, and you've got Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. What Dave Gettleman just did was he drafted the last possible excuse for Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones either has to get it done or not here, because now he has every possible weapon he could have around him.
All right. So overdraft, but you kind of like it.
I don't, as much as I could, there are guys you could overdraft that I would say, what are you doing? Right? If you overdraft a lineman, let's say you take Alex Leatherwood 23 picks earlier than he was supposed to go. That's fine. The Giants were not going to pick again until the middle of the second round. If Toney was their guy, then he wasn't going to be there mid-second round. So they already made the trade back. They go to 20. I don't think 20 is an unreasonable place to go take the receiver that you believe in. So it's not perfect, but I don't hate it.
You think he also looked at it like, hey, I wanted Devontae Smith. Now he's not there. Someone beat me to the punch. Let me get the hell out of here and get some value.
Absolutely. There is zero question about the fact that Devontae Smith would have gone to the Giants at 11. I mean, look, I'm a Giants fan. I read every beat writer. I read everything. They loved Jalen Waddle. They wanted Jalen Waddle more than any player in this draft, but Jalen Waddle goes at 6, and that ends that. But how far behind Jalen Waddle is Devontae Smith? It's mostly a question of size more than it is of ability. And so the Eagles knew that. They go up and they try to fix some of their issues, like taking Jalen Reagor in front of Justin Jefferson last year by getting Devontae Smith. Okay, well, you give Jalen Hurts a weapon. That's great. And you're right. For once, Dave Gettleman did not look at the player he wanted, go in front of him, and then just grab the next guy he saw on the board, a la Eli Apple a couple of years ago. No, he said, there's a needy team in Chicago that's offering me a 1 to go get their guy. Do it. So there's a big, big difference between overdrafting 10 spots at 20 and overdrafting 10 spots at 11. Because think of where this team has been. The last 3 years, they've had the 2nd pick, the 6th pick, and the 4th pick. They took a running back. I don't care how good Saquon Barkley is. They took a running back at number 2. They took Daniel Jones, a guy who was consensus to go maybe 15 to 20 picks later, at 6. And then they took Andrew Thomas at 4. And I know that some folks have said, give Andrew Thomas time. He had one of the worst half seasons that we've seen for a rookie tackle coming into the league in his first 8 games last year. Absolutely improved as the season went on. But then when you look at Wirfs and Wills and all of the guys who went after him, you say, what did the Giants do with having 3 top 6 picks? And to this point, the answer is not much. Well, what did they do? They leveraged the 11th pick into getting a second first round pick next year. You take a wide receiver who is limited size-wise but has great speed. And look, that basically is Devontae Smith Jr., right? They took the lesser version of Devontae Smith and they did it 9 picks after where the original went.
All right, Kadarius Toney to the Giants. What do you think? He was slotted on most lists. His over-under originally with Circa was 28.5 in the first round, so he went here to the Giants, and it is a position of need. So, Caleb?
Well, I don't hate the pick. Like you said, I don't think it was where I thought they'd go. But I think you also got to look at what your situation is as a team, like who you're going to be playing next level. I think the way the NFC was the NFC East was kind of going, you don't really necessarily need pass rush. You do not have the premier quarterbacks or pass attacks in your division. I don't think prioritizing your pass rush necessarily was the only way to go here, especially with a high draft pick. I think, like you said, the way you leverage your 11th pick, I think gives you kind of some leeway to make some, I wouldn't say risky, I would say some fluffy picks here. I think the receiving core in New York is good with Sterling and even with Ingram as a tight end, a receiving tight end, who they kind of are still hopeful for as far as their pass attack. But I don't mind this pick when you're talking about bolstering up your offense to make it a high-scoring, high-powered offense, to kind of get a guy that blows the top off of coverages, to open things up for the return of Saquon Barkley, maybe to cash in on using that number 2 pick to get a running back. In that estimation, I think, your offensive line, you've done some investment there already. So I think the Giants were in a good spot as far as what they could do with this pick. This isn't I think a home run of a pick, but I think it's one that makes sense for your team if this is the direction you want to go, especially when you consider, like I said, the division you're in and the quality of the offensive opponents, so to speak, that you're going up against. I don't think you needed to sell out this high for the pass rusher that was available, but I would have liked to see that. And anytime you're talking defense, I think that needs to happen. But like I said, the NFC East is not scary as far as the production that you need from your defensive players. Maybe you have time to build your defensive line a little bit better. And this gives Daniel Jones another weapon. He's struggled a little bit, maybe not turned into, Danny Dimes like he thought he would, but this gives him another weapon. And in turn takes away excuses for him underperforming, I guess. But I think I agree with the pick. I mean, not the pick that I would have taken, but I agree that it's a solid pick. And the way the draft management has gone this year, as opposed to past years, I think it's better for the Giants. And a little envious of that luxury that they're having up in New York, but hopefully it turned into a good, solid pick there.
Caleb, let's and Candy, let's bring in Q Myers, Locked On Raiders podcast. He's a busy guy tonight. I'm sure he's doing a podcast tonight to react. So we get one of his early reactions. Let's go back to the Raiders pick. And Alex Leatherwood is the pick. And Q, I asked you over and over and over again the last couple of weeks. I'm like, who are you honing in on? Who do you have? And you're like, I don't know, because the Raiders are crazy and they could pick anyone. So now that you've had, 10, 15 minutes to think about it, Alex Leatherwood, what do you think?
I think it would have been a great pick tomorrow. I mean, just let's keep it real. It would have been a great pick tomorrow.
Yeah.
I
Could have
mean,
waited 24 hours.
yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't understand. I don't understand why you get a second round guy early, midway through the first round. I don't know why. I don't care if you like him or not. He's a good player. I get it. But he's a second round guy in a deep class with tackles. You still have Christian Darrisaw on the board. You still have Tevin Jenkins on the board. You still have Liam Eichenberg on the board. And you go with Alex Leatherwood. And I like Alabama a lot. I'll yell Roll Tide all day, but I'll tell you, I'm going to be honest. That was a second round dude that just went number 17 overall. I don't know if you saw him dancing at the house. He was like, whoa. He was dancing because, I mean, it's like, yeah. It's like when you shoot your shot at the girl that you just know is not going to say. And all of a sudden she's like, yeah, cool. I'll go home with you. You're like, what? Are you serious? Is there a camera on me? Are you punking me right now? Cleve Farrell was like, that's my dog. Cleve Farrell's like, man, guy now. Like, I mean, it's just like, come on, man. 17? Like 17? Not 27, not 37, but 17. Come on, man.
I wonder. I wish they had the camera on him for him trying to find his phone to answer the call, because I know he wasn't expecting it.
No, he wasn't.
There's no way.
He thought that was DoorDash. Because they got the wrong address and they were trying to deliver him for wings.
He thought that was the what's the gate code call.
Exactly. We've all been there, right? I can't get in, sir. I can't get in. Oh, it's dash first. You hit the star first, then 2447.
That's it. From now on, that's it. Alex Leatherwood is the Raiders' DoorDash pick.
Yes. DoorDash and gate code. Let's just call him gate code. That sounds cooler.
Call him gate code. All right, that's what I'm calling him, gate code.
In your starting lineup for the Raiders, gate code.
Gate code on the sack. Hopefully,
Gate code just
giving up the sack. Yeah.
I mean, again, he's a good player. I'm not. Look, he's on a national championship team. I get it, but he's not number 17 overall. It's just not.
This is what the Raiders have done to players, though. Like, he might be a good player. He might, right. if drafted where he's supposed to be, he might turn out to be a good NFL player. Just like who's the guy from the practice squad that Mayock threw out that they were saying they like his prowess at offensive tackle. Like, it's
field.
Yeah. Like, maybe that guy is a good player. I mean, maybe he could be, but he has no business being mentioned.
No.
With the number 17 pick, or no business being mentioned as the next starting tackle for a professional football team. Not right now.
No,
like, not with the 17 pick. It's almost infuriating. I don't know. And maybe it's some arrogance on the part of like Mayock and Gruden, just thinking they know everything. I don't know what the logic is behind this pick. And you guys know me. I'm usually the optimist. I try to find silver linings, but this is, if I ever saw a dumb draft pick, that was it.
It was. And I hate to say it, but it was. I mean, it is. I try to say, okay, you know what? That player wasn't on my board, but okay, they know more than I do. But I'm sorry, they don't know more than I do in this point. He's not a first round guy. He's a second round pick at best, and they drafted him in the first round. And look, this is a team that had 5 first round picks the last 2 years, and they have a bunch of good players. They don't have a bunch of great players. At some point, you've got to get great. You have to win with great players. He's not great. He's only good.
Crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Who are you most disappointed that they passed on? Q.
I mean, look, if you're going to take Leatherwood at 17, I'd much rather them take Trayvon Merrick, safety out of TCU. They need a safety. I'd much rather them take Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. I'd much rather them take Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. I'd much rather them take Liam Eichenberg. I just don't think Leatherwood is even in this conversation. I just don't. And he's still a guy who's a left tackle. It's going to kick over to the right side, so he's going to have to, learn that position. But that's fine. I think that they could do that. But I'm just not. And look, I wasn't very excited about the Colton Miller pick, not going to lie. And it worked out okay. But again, you can get a good player or you can get a great player. And I think that they had great potential in front of them, and they chose good. And you don't win championships with good players. You win championships with great players.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I said, you waste your first round picks on good, and I couldn't have said it in a better way. Like you see these names that are going in the top 20, And I don't like to compare and contrast other draft picks because different teams have different needs. But you see guys, like Micah Parsons going, and names like like Justin Fields, these guys that are like franchise changing names in that top 20. You don't go for the guy that's good in the top 20, especially if you're maybe a few pieces away, and especially if the guy's on the wrong side of the ball. Like, you need great on defense.
Right.
You have a good offense. Your offense was one of the best in the league as far as their output last year. You don't need an offensive guard, tackle, tweener player that's good. You need to go get the great guy on defense right now. And that to me, that's the most frustrating part about it. You don't even address your main need from the last snap of the 2020 season for the Raiders. That was, from that day forward, should have been the only thing on anybody's mind was fix the defense. Fix the defense. Our offense can compete. Let's fix the defense.
Right.
You draft a good player on offense with your number 17 pick. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And like you said, I don't care what they think of themselves right now. They're the laughing stock of the league with that draft pick. I don't think any executive in the league looks at that draft pick and says, "Oh, I see what they're doing there." No, everybody's lost right now with the Raiders' plan of attack. Like, what are they planning to be next year? Are they going to run inside zone a lot? Like, are they going to just, two-headed monster at running back us to death? Like, is that what their plan is? And make the game short and run the ball effectively and just be efficient on third down and then hope that their defense isn't on the field much? Because you didn't fix the defense. Right. You're still playing the Kansas City Chiefs. The Denver Broncos are getting better on offense. They've made upgrades. The Chargers are coming. I mean, fix your defense. That's all I'm asking for the Raiders to do, is make me believe that you're trying to fix your defense. And that pick does not give me the slightest bit of hope that they're fixing their defense this offseason.
Even Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was still there. Could have gone and got him.
He's still available.
Nuts. He's been the best available for 6 picks right now.
Yep. Caleb's going to run for a second because he's got dad duties and he was nice enough to carve out a few minutes. But I do want to ask Caleb, as the only guy who played Division I quarterback in the room. I think that's correct. Candy's pointing to himself, but maybe I don't know about his.
Whoa, hey.
What did you think about how the quarterbacks fell out there? First of all, Lance, what do you think of the Niners taking Trey Lance? I think every single person we had on the show was like, Mac Jones to the Niners at 3 makes no sense. So I wasn't surprised Trey Lance went at 3. Were you surprised? And what does this mean now for the Niners with Jimmy G? Because, I guess the main trade partner for Jimmy G, the Patriots, are set because they got the Bama quarterback, Mac Jones. So what do you think of Trey Lance at 3?
Here's what I think. I think Trey Lance, I like his measurables. I like what he his mechanics, what he can do as a quarterback. I don't think he's a question answered as far as replacing Jimmy G. And to me, and this is just how I look at Trey Lance. His body of work in Division II football is fantastic for Division II football. The stats are there. The way he dominated when he did play, is there. But I personally believe that there's something to quality of opponent. And I'm not just talking about the bottom of Division I. I'm talking about you're in a Division II league and you're doing that. Granted, we have examples as recent as Carson Wentz from the same school, even, where it can translate and the skill set can translate. I just don't know if Trey Lance was in that same category as Carson Wentz coming out. And not just that, but the fact that a guy like Justin Fields, who ended up falling pretty far, in my estimation, from at least when the season ended and much of last season, I thought was a clear-cut number 2 quarterback coming out. I think other than Trevor Lawrence, there's nobody that I was more sure as far as his potential to play, what he did, his body work in college, would be a top 3 at least quarterback. So I think the Niners not going that direction was a surprise to me. I think Mac Jones' skill set is very limited, and I think you get a little bit more with either Fields or with Trey Lance. I think it was a little bit of a shock, honestly, that just the way that I look at it. I cut on the film and I see the opponents that Trey Lance played against, and I can't help but take his talent and his stats or his production with a grain of salt. It's just I can't help it because I know it makes a difference. It makes a difference when you're going against those defenses versus Northwesterns or Clemson even in the semifinals, and you're performing the way you did when you talk about Justin Fields. I would have liked to see Justin Fields go to the Niners with that number 3 pick, but the Niners had their guy, and from all indications, they knew this months ago, that they were going with Trey Lance, and the rest was kind of just smoke and mirrors to get everybody off the scent. But Trey Lance is a good quarterback, and I hope it pans out. But I still think that it's a question of is he going to replace Jimmy G? Because you have to see how he performs against this level of opponent. It's a big jump going from North Dakota State to the NFL, to the NFC, where you're going to be going up against Sam Darnold and that Rams defense, where you're not playing against Montana or Montana State or anything like that. It's
right.
It's a little different. And so I think that's a question he's going to have to answer, and I think he understands that full well. Everybody in his camp should understand that. I just don't know if the Niners made the right choice as far as immediately replacing Jimmy G, if that's what they intend to do. And I fully believe that they intend to shop Jimmy G around and make a move with him. I think the Patriots taking Mac Jones kind of squashes that trade possibility with Jimmy G going back to New England. But I like Trey Lance. I like what he does. I just don't like that Justin Fields fell to where he did. Right. I think he'll be fine with the Bears. I think he's actually in a bit of a good situation in Chicago with a good defense up there, and some talent around him. But that's the most confusing thing about me with the quarterbacks is how Justin Fields fell so far on the draft boards of all these executives, and kind of the way he was covered throughout this offseason leading up to draft. Just kind of wasn't, I didn't see it coming. I thought Justin Fields would be number 2. I thought he'd be in New York, being a Jet right now, but it is what it is. Trey Lance is going to be a Niner. We'll see how that quarterback competition with he and Jimmy G shakes out.
All right, Caleb, we appreciate you jumping in for a few minutes. Thank you.
All right, guys, take care.
There he is, the former UNLV quarterback, Caleb Herring. So Q and Candy, I want you guys to react now. So Leatherwood goes at 17. The over-under on Leatherwood was near 40. Most people thought he was somewhere between 37 and 50 on the boards. And now you see a run now of defensive players. And by the way, I'm keeping an eye on this one because I think the split, remember the over-under on offensive players was 18. And I was like, that seems really high to me. I think the count is now at 13-9. But yeah, the last since the Raiders, Phillips, a defensive end, goes. Davis, a linebacker from Kentucky, goes to football team. Giants squeeze in Tony. Then you got Kwity Paye to the Colts, and now you got Caleb Farley to the Titans. Any of those guys, Q, when you look at him, you're like, that would have been a good guy for the Raiders, one of those defensive players who just went.
I mean, really, honestly, I don't really see any of them or hear any of them that I'm very, very excited about and fired up about. You know what I mean? Like they none of those guys really do a whole lot for me, but just Leatherwood doesn't do a whole lot for me either. You know what I mean? Like that's what's worse. It's just the fact that he doesn't do anything for me that really bothers me. I would have been, again, they could have gone Trayvon Merrick and I'd have been perfect. I'd have been fine with it. I think it's a little high, but I'd rather be a little high than like super high, like giraffe high.
Andy, you're talking Kwity Paye to the Giants, so Kwity Paye certainly the Raiders would be nice. And now instead, you've had Kwity Paye land with the Colts, and the Colts have a need there. The Colts are already a very good football team, and maybe they've got a elite pass rusher.
I mean, look, you go ahead and you put Kwity Paye on a line that already has DeForest Buckner wrecking people, and it just makes him that much better. So my feeling was you take Kwity Paye, you stick him on the other side of the line in a rotation with Max Crosby. I am not 100% sold on Max Crosby. A lot of those sacks that he's had have been cleanup sacks. They haven't been ones necessarily that he's created for himself. So that's not to say Max Crosby's not a player that the Raiders can use. I just don't know that he's necessarily the answer on one of those defensive ends. So you put him out there and you let Kwity Paye benefit from Yannick Ngakoue, maybe both ways. He had the highest win rate last year, did Kwity Paye in college football. Now, when you look at Caleb Farley going to the Titans, you and I talked about it before the pick. I mean, we're kind of joking about it, saying that it would fit to trade him to the Packers in a hypothetical Derek Carr trade. But look, we are again counting on unproven cornerbacks with Mullen and Arnett. And so why would you not want to add talent to that mix and say, even if it shakes out perfectly, when can you ever have too many corners? It's not possible. Or I'll take what Q just said and say, if you're going to talk about drafting to need, right? Because there's no way to talk about this tackle choice without saying the Raiders locked in on we need a tackle and went and drafted a tackle. Well, you easily could have honed in and said, we need a safety, go draft a safety. and it wouldn't have been the same reach, right? You could have looked at this kid and said, okay, maybe 4 or 5 picks too high, but that's what you do when you're going to draft for need. You don't mind going 4 or 5 picks too high. You don't reach down for gate code in the middle of the second round.
You're so down in the dumps. My God, you're just shaking,
man. And he might turn out to be a really good player. Like I said, I wasn't high on Colton Miller either, but this one I just know. And I've had people hitting me like, oh, well, just because like Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper and Todd McShay and those cats didn't say he's a first-round guy doesn't mean he's not a first-round guy. And I was like, no, but as a fan of Alabama, or at least a guy who loves to watch Alabama, I know he's not a first-round guy. He's good. He's not great. And you had an option get great. I mean, Darisaw, who I guess just went off the board to the Vikings, he gave up no sacks in 2020. 0. In every language you speak, it's still 0. It's a goose egg. I mean, that would have been a better option. Tevin Jenkins is a guy that has a nasty mean streak. Everyone said, oh, man, he plays like a Raider. You know, he's got that. Okay. You know, I saw him at Oklahoma State. He was pretty good. He was, you know, he would have been a little bit more exciting. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, you could have addressed the back end. You could have addressed your defense and had a playmaker out there. I mean, I don't know, man. I just Leatherwood is not the guy that I was thinking I was going to be talking about on Thursday. I thought maybe on Friday because I had heard his name that they liked him. I just didn't know they liked him that much.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just going to ask you guys if Darisaw slipping now, means something and makes you feel better about the passing on him. But well, again, we'll measure Leatherwood against Darisaw and some of the other linemen who go after him.
Steve, I've been watching the Pro Football Focus draft tracker, and they're grading every pick as they go along.
No.
And look, they're being fair, I think, all throughout. And they're not giving A to B to C grades. They're saying elite pick, they're saying average pick, they're saying a poor pick. And for Kadarius Toney to my Giants, they called it above average, right? Not a hugely high grade, but they maybe went and didn't draft the best receiver available, but they drafted a guy that they needed because the Giants, stat that I was just looking at, were dead last in the NFL last year in yards after catch. Well, Kadarius Toney will help you fix that. But when you look at their grade for the Raiders, it is the one and only poor grade that they've given out for the entire first round.
Really?
Yes, they've had average, they've had below average. It is the one failing grade they've given out in the first round, and they referred to his issues in pass protection as, quote, major.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I don't know what to say, man. I don't. I mean, Q, you follow this team as closely as anybody. And Caleb, right before the pick, was like, look, man, there's so many guys on the board. They can't screw this up. And I said to him, those are dangerous words. And I just don't. What do you think with Gruden and Mayock? Is there just not a willingness to trade back? Is there not an interest in? Okay, we see this player we really like. Everybody else views him as a second round player. So why couldn't we trade out of pick number 17, get a little more capital later in the draft, and still get that guy? I don't think there's anything wrong with locking in on the players that you love, but locking in on them come hell or high water about where you are in the draft is a problem.
Exactly. That's the problem, man. And that's what they did. And they've done that traditionally. Cleve Farrell, number 4. Most people thought he was a 15, 16, maybe even as late as 20, pick. He goes number 4. So no matter what he does in his career, he'll always be judged as a number 4 overall pick. So it'll never be good enough. It just won't. He doesn't produce enough sacks to be worthy of that number 4 pick, even though he's a decent player, a good player, not great, but good. Josh Jacobs, you never take a running back in the first round. I'm okay with them taking him at 24. That was fine. I had no problem with him. Again, really good player.
Oh,
what happened? You didn't like it?
No, I just lost a fair amount of money on the Steelers taking Najee Harris in the first round. Just like literally, as you said, you don't take a running back in the first round.
What was he over under 28.5 or 24.5?
28.5. This was literally the only spot in the draft where I could have lost this pick. So
well, there you go. That's a
there
good
you go. Sorry, Q. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. That was just a little heartbreak to the wallet.
Some reaction is better than my reaction because I'm telling you, man, that pick, oh man, I'm still look, 4 years from now, I might be saying, hey, that was a great pick. I just think that they could have done better in the first round. I think there was better options right there at 17. And like you said, they could have traded back and even collected a couple more picks if they were just so so insistent on having Alex Leatherwood. If that had to be your guy, you could definitely trade back. There, even if you don't get the value that you wanted to get, if you get one additional pick and then you pick Alex Leatherwood, at least you got something extra. It's like you got a toy surprise in your Happy Meal. Now you got a Happy Meal and didn't even come with a burger that was big enough to fill you up. You know what I mean? Like, geez, you got robbed of your fries or something. I don't know.
Q, are you doing a Lockdown Raiders podcast tonight, or you do it tomorrow? When you do it?
No, I got the podcast I got to do tonight. I got a hit in San Antonio I got to do tonight. I got a hit on Twitch I got to do tonight. I'm gonna just stay up all night and call it a day. I don't care. Maybe by the time I actually go to bed, they'll be up on the clock again and they'll make a better pick.
You're just gonna stay awake until then, hoping that you're happy when you're really.
Hey, that's like a radio marathon, right? Just stay up until the pick is good.
Yeah,
Actually,
actually,
the pick is good.
imagine if you just kept staying up all of this through Saturday, and you're like, I am not going to sleep until I'm satisfied with a selection.
Right, exactly. Now with the number 200 overall pick, the Raiders pick anyone. That's a great pick. I love it. I can finally off. Good night.
All right, Q, man. We appreciate you coming in for as long as you did, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
All right, see you later. There he is, Q Myers. Dude, he's funny. I didn't think the reaction would be that strong. He was beside himself.
It's not even the fact that they reached. It's that they reached for the guy who isn't even the answer,
Yep.
right? Like Q was beside himself for that reason. Caleb was beside himself because he looked at the Raiders defense and said to himself, there's no chance they look at this defense and think we're good. And yet that's what they went ahead and did. It's remarkable. And just to follow up what I was talking about, I had a number. I had it at 28.5. I had it at 29.5. I had a number of Najee Harris over because as many people as had him mocked to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 25.
Yep.
The Pittsburgh Steelers had not taken a running back in the first round since 2008. The last running back they took in the first round was Rashard Mendenhall. If you look at the backs drafted second round or later just in the past few years, you find guys like Dalvin Cook. You find guys like Derrick Henry. Frankly, I thought a team that has the decision-making structure in place the way the Steelers have for so long would have been smarter than to take a running back in the first round. It's a horrid pick. It's an offensive line that's not going to be able to block for him in the first place. It does nothing to make Ben Roethlisberger better this year. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player, but in the end, this is the same as the Raiders taking Josh Jacobs. How does he make you better right now? How does he make you measurably better? The difference among running backs is so small in the NFL that taking one in the first round just doesn't make any sense. How can you even argue with recent history? How can you argue with the recent history of looking at guys like Dalvin Cook? We know why Joe Mixon dropped, but he's another example of these guys, of a Derrick Henry, of I'm blanking on the name, Nick Chubb. Like, how can you look at these guys who went as second round players and say to yourself, we need to take a running back in the first round? It just look at the fact that they took Najee Harris. Okay, Najee Harris is a good player. But he is a player who really, really needed last season to boost his draft stock. You could have made me a very strong case for taking Travis Etienne in the first round. You could have made me a reasonable case in today's NFL for taking Javonte Williams as the number one overall running back. But that's the point. The point is that if you have three largely interchangeable guys, or realistically two interchangeable guys and maybe one who brings a different skill set, that you cannot make a case for using the value of a first round pick. And don't come at me with this, well, that's our guy. We knew that was our guy and we wanted him. Well, if that's your guy and you want him, then you trade down. And I'm not saying there's always a great trade offer out there, but if the guys are essentially interchangeable, I don't care if you go and you pick up a number 5, you pick up a 6th round pick for all it's worth. It doesn't matter. But do something to help your franchise beyond just going and overdrafting. And I see Adam Hill here. Adam, just so you know, even though I'm yelling about overdrafting, I'm actually not talking about the Raiders.
About Najee Harris.
Yeah.
I don't think we can hear Adam right now.
No.
Dan Jacobs, can we hear you?
I believe so. Can you hear me?
Dan.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, for some reason we can't hear you. Yeah,
He's never sounded better.
He might not hear us. I think
Fair
he can.
point.
Nothing.
No. You've got your Uber must be blocking Wi-Fi or something there, Hill. Like, you can't get on. Now he's muted. Now he's unmuted.
We'll leave him.
It looks like a hostage video. Anyway,
It looks like an episode of Cops, is what it looks like.
That's a good call.
Maybe he's going to try to pull over.
he's doing that. It's Cops.
It's on his phone.
Need the
So
Bad Boys music.
it's probably your microphone set on there. So nothing yet. But keep talking, and when you pop in, you pop in. But I would check your mic setting.
We're in trouble when we got Cofield doing the technical troubleshooting on the.
As much as I can do. So that's all I can do. You know. So hey Dan, I want to get your take on the Broncos. Adam's going to jump out there. What's happened with the Broncos tonight? They had multiple shots at a quarterback there, and instead they went cornerback. And I think a lot of people are suspecting that maybe could it be a pick for someone else? Could it be a pick for the Packers? Like, what's your reaction to seeing them cornerback?
Yeah, but first I do have to apologize to Candy. It is almost like watching a car accident, though, when you're talking to Q and then Candy all of a sudden is like, ah! You're watching somebody lose money live on the air. You're like, I shouldn't be taking pleasure in this, but I kind of am. I don't know.
No, it's content, Dan. It's content.
Is it wrong?
No, it's absolutely not wrong. I put my misery out there for everybody. I will say that there are folks over on VSiN who might have looked at our draft guide and saw me give Najee Harris not being drafted in the first round as my best bet. I believed in this with my public word. I believed in this with my money, and I hope that everybody got a good show for it, like you did, Dan.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, those people that believed in you probably didn't find it as amusing as I did. But,
I guarantee they faded me. Absolutely guarantee they faded me, so they probably made some money.
Yeah, like that one guy that went after Adam Hill was like, Adam Hill should be banished from the planet because he made a wrong prediction on VSiN one time. He should be, flogged. And Adam Hill was like, well, what do you want from me, dude? I got it wrong. That type of thing. So there you go.
Right. So what about the Broncos on that pick?
Well, people got very, very excited because the word was Aaron Rodgers is coming to town. Our own Mark Schlereth was actually texting Aaron Rodgers while he was on the air during our draft coverage. And Aaron Rodgers was telling him it's 99% a done deal. I'm going to Denver. And it obviously has not happened as of yet. So the one thing that might be lost here, though, is it was never very likely that it was going to happen tonight anyway, because of the June 1st, cap implications. It's much more likely that, a deal would have been agreed to in principle this evening and then consummated after the draft. But that's not what has happened, just so you know. Like, there has been no deal in principle that just hasn't been announced. No deal was done. So maybe the Broncos drafted Patrick Surtain and hope to get a deal done later. But as of right now, it just has not happened. Now, is Adam still running from the cops, or is he, what's going on? Is he like running through?
I was running from my Allegiant live set to my South Point Sportsbook live set while I'm trying to write a story on Deadline too.
So now it's moved from like cops to like Zach Galifianakis in what was the movie Hangover?
Steve, you want to blast from the past, Steve?
Yes.
You ready for this? Hey, sir. What's up with you?
Hey, my motherfucking man. Hello.
Nice.
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
How you been, bro?
What's up?
You still,
What's
you
happening?
know Steve Cofield there?
Yeah.
Yo, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
Legend.
At least you got a job.
I know, right?
I'm glad I'm retired. Hello.
You picked the right
I ain't
time.
got to worry about that.
How you doing, bro?
I'm all right.
Good to see you. I had to run over there, but
Okay.
I'll see you a little bit, all right?
Okay.
We'll be over the sports book.
Oh, okay.
I'll see you. How about? Yes, sir. You too. How about that? Local legend.
Yeah. You want to tell who that is who don't know who he is?
That is our friend Sticker, who many people think is just a weirdo that hangs out in sports books. Absolutely not the case. He's very connected. Works for some of the power brokers in town, so he's a good dude.
Yes, very much so. He was a legend over at the Palms and very much needed. Very much needed. Necessary. All right, we're going to see if we can get this to work with Adam as he's traipsing through the South Point. So real quick, Adam, because I know you're limited. Give us your reaction.
You back?
Give us your reaction to Leatherwood. Yeah, if you can hear us, give your reaction to Leatherwood.
Oh boy.
Maybe he can't hear us. Damn it! Tech issues. I knew this would be raw and gritty.
Am I back or no?
Yeah, you're back.
We hear you, Adam. We hear you.
Right, go ahead and give your take on Leatherwood at 17.
Who? What? I mean, I don't listen. I know he was one of the guys that they were potentially looking at, but I think that was only if Darrisaw fell or it didn't fall. And I thought Darrisaw or Jenkins was the play. And when it wasn't, I had to start researching like crazy. But yeah, it's a weird one. Interesting decision by the Raiders, but that's what they've done, right? Like it shouldn't be that surprising. They scout the championship game. They scout the playoffs. That's what they do. And he played in the playoffs, so they took him.
Yep. Amazing. What do you got coming up with the RJ? So we're going to be done in a little bit. But what are you guys doing tonight?
Live set right here. Check us out. We're down at the South Point if you want to come see it, but we're here live. There's Cassie. She said hello.
Where's Vinny?
Hey, say hi to my friend, the old Honda Civic.
I will do that.
Cassie Soto, the old Honda Civic. Make sure you tell her.
I will do that.
Thank you.
All right. We are on soon, so I'll run, but you guys are doing a great job. I was checking it out earlier.
Okay, Adam. We'll see you. There he is, Adam Hill. We'll get him on the phone tomorrow during Cofield and Company. Candy's in. We'll get Adam on. We'll get a bunch of other folks on. I promise. Ari's probably watching right now. Ari was supposed to show up tonight, so now he's going to have extra duties in terms of booking guests. So, Jacobs, let's get back to what the Broncos did. So, yeah, the Rodgers trade, there's nothing done yet. Schlereth said he's hearing it's a done deal, but it could fall through.
Well, Schlereth was talking to Aaron Rodgers as it was happening.
Really?
Yeah. And so Rodgers was telling Schlereth, yeah, I'm going to Denver. It's 99% done. And then, it hasn't happened. Now, logistically, it could have been agreed to in principle and then not really consummated till after June 1st for cap purposes. But that is not what has happened. So as of now, that's not going to happen. Now it could happen down the road, and they, selected Patrick Surtain just on the chance that that's who the Packers wanted. Yes, maybe, because they know the Packers need a cornerback, and if not, they need a cornerback for the future. But as of now, they just picked Patrick Surtain because Vic Fangio likes Patrick Surtain. Not that Vic Fangio is going to be the coach for very much longer, but hey, that was the play for now. They didn't like the Mac Jones or Justin Fields, so they're moving forward. And after the pick was made, they said, "Hey, who needs Justin Fields or Patrick or Mac Jones? We have Teddy Bridgewater, everybody. Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. We're okay. We're fine. Who cares about Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes? Who's that guy?" And Derek Carr 3-1 touchdown to interception ratio, getting out of bed every day. Those guys, who cares? We got Bridgewater and Drew Lock. We're just fine.
All right, Petro's in. We got Denver. We got Kansas City in. Petro, can we hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We got you, buddy. We got you. So pretty crazy first round. We've brought in our Raider experts, a couple of them. Adam Hill couldn't stay for very long, but the other Raider experts and locals and our reaction to Alex Leatherwood at 17, we were a little bit surprised. Over-under on the Vegas boards was 39.5, and many people had him slotted somewhere between 37 and 50.
Listen, I always hesitate to jump on and say, well, this guy's a bust, right? Because a lot of our view of things is based upon, what we've read other people's opinions. Right. I know that, Alex Leatherwood was a guy that I spoke with some people around the Chiefs organization, and it's guys like Alex Leatherwood that had them trading for Orlando Brown. I mean, they looked at it, they did their evaluation, and when they got done with the offensive tackles, they said the guys that are going to be around 31, and Brett Veach has traded up in every draft he's engineered to this point, so he's not afraid to move up a little bit. So anyone that they thought was going to be within reason of a trade up. They said, at the end of the day, we're looking around here and the consensus I was hearing was that they thought none of these guys are first round picks, right? They're more second, bottom of second, maybe top of third. And so they said, all right, we're going to go make Orlando Brown happen, right? It's going to cost us more in the next couple of years, but it's the one sure thing we get. And we get a guy that we know can play the left side. But, with Jenkins on the slide, the Oklahoma State kid, that's a guy that some people think can play left tackle. But again, he's only played right tackle. But he's certainly considered a much more of an athlete. I mean, Leatherwood is that kind of classic Alabama big road grader type of guy that's, kind of slow of foot. And I think there are like 3 or 4 tackles. Again, it's Pro Football Focus. It's just one group's opinion, but it's a consensus opinion. They break it all down the way teams do. They had 4 different offensive tackles rated ahead of him when he went.
Yep. Woo. Yeah. Very interesting with the Raiders. They do it again. And as Adam Hill just joked, and he actually said it on Wednesday, it does seem like if they watch the Final Four in college football, they watch the title game and they're like, all right, here we go. We're going to hone in on these guys. It's a weird organization.
Well, and isn't that your only choice? I'm sorry not to interrupt, but isn't that your only choice? Like, I'd be happy to give them the benefit of the doubt if this was their first year and say, okay, let's see, these guys are doing things a different way. But this is what they've done the last couple of years, and it hasn't resulted in a playoff caliber football team. So I don't see how Raider fans, maybe this is the one that's going to work and he's going to be a star. But I don't. Yeah, he's a Jag, exactly. And I just don't know how Raider fans could sit there and be expected to get fired up about this draft pick.
I was about to make the joke. I was like, hey, you can't fault him. It works, isn't it? Like, this is the 3rd year and it works. Like, you can't knock it if it's working for him. But wait a minute. They actually haven't made the playoffs yet. Right?
It's not working. That's a problem. It's not working. It's not. What was the last pick we had? This one's a little bit weird. The Jaguars nailed the running back position last year with James Robinson. They just took Travis Etienne. Does anyone get this?
No. Like they're making their first number 1 overall pick happy by grabbing his buddy to come with them. I mean, I like Travis Etienne, but I think if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have the number 1 pick for a reason. You have a lot of needs, and running back's a position that you can find needs. Look, There was grumblings in Kansas City when they took Clyde Edwards-Helaire at pick number 32, and they were coming off a Super Bowl, and people grumbled. And now there's even more grumblings this year, and after the Super Bowl when their offensive line looked terrible, and everybody said, well, an offensive lineman might have looked nice at pick 32 last year. And so to have a running back that really and look, I know fantasy guys are thrilled because they got a guy for nothing either late or along the way, and he put up big numbers. I think this is a better running back. I think they've upgraded the position, and if what they want are a lot of weapons around the quarterback, I don't think that's a bad thing. But to me, there are a lot of receivers that they could be grabbing here, or linemen that they could be grabbing here. If what you're trying to do is make the quarterback successful, I think there are a lot of other spots that just have a lot more value to being successful on offense.
I'm wondering how Candy feels about early running back picks.
Well,
I didn't have any money on Travis Etienne, Dan. I had no money involved in that pick, but but Soren, I think you make a good point. They upgrade, right? I mean, we're not going to argue that they upgrade, but the fact that you got James Robinson as an undrafted free agent and the guy ran for 1,000 yards is just further proof of what you can do with the running back position that you can't do at other positions, right? Like the interchangeable nature ultimately of a lot of the guys, and I think the question just becomes a first-round pick to upgrade at that position when, like you said, this is a roster that's leaking all over the place.
Well, first-round picks are picks that you expect to sign to a second contract, right? If you're not picking up that fifth-year option and signing him to a second contract, then it wasn't a good pick. Yeah. You're getting a premium value here, and you look at the leaders in rushing. Now Etienne is a guy who can catch the ball, and I think he's diverse, and maybe he can have a longer lifespan. Maybe Christian McCaffrey, who was hurt last year, right? But maybe it's going to rewrite the running back position to where these guys can have a longer lifespan. But you look at the league leaders in rushing any year and go back 3 years, and I guarantee you at least eight of the top 10 are different guys. And so it's a one contract position. So why would you take a running back in the first round, knowing that in all likelihood, the math is overwhelmingly that you will not be signing this guy to a second contract, that he'll either be worn out or hurt or not that good, and you'll be going someplace else. Where if you take an offensive lineman, even if it's an interior offensive lineman, like we're getting to that point where the best guards and centers, Vera Tucker is the one guy who's probably going to play guard, who's already off the board, although some people think he can play center, where they draft or play tackle, and where they drafted him, maybe he'll end up playing tackle, but the best guards and centers are there. And this is a sweet spot. You get to the bottom of the first round and the top of the second is a sweet spot for interior offensive linemen. So if you can get the best guard or the best center in the class, that's a position that's likely to get a second contract for you. And you're keeping your quarterback on his feet. And there are still a lot of wideouts. I mean, the wideouts have gone really quiet now. And I think there are a number of guys that certainly would be weapons, even if they don't end up being franchise wide receivers. I don't think there's anyone right now that you say, this guy's the number one wide receiver. But there are certainly guys that can upgrade that spot and give your quarterback every possibility to succeed. Dan and I have talked about it on his show in Denver. Like, the Broncos have done a pretty good job of trying to put some linemen and skill position players around there to give the quarterback every chance to succeed. And that's the one thing. And the Chiefs way overpaid for Sammy Watkins. And then they doubled down and took McCole Hardman to give even another weapon. I mean, they pretty much said, listen, in this first contract, we're going to give Patrick Mahomes every possible chance to succeed and to reach out and figure out exactly how far he can go as a player. And so, why you wouldn't do that same thing? Urban Meyer, he runs the ball a lot more than people realize in college, and he's probably wanting to do that again down in Jacksonville. But I think this might be the inexperience of their coach, not understanding the real value of the different positions that are out there.
Plus, they worked out Tim Tebow, so there's that.
Oh, yeah, the tight end spot's fixed.
Yeah, adding another first round pick when it comes to Tim Tebow. But look at pick the number of years that you want to go back when you look at Super Bowl champions and say, where was the last team with let's just say a mid to late first round running back that they drafted who was a difference maker for that team? You have to go a long way back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the last big time back that you go to is probably Marshawn Lynch, and the Seahawks didn't draft him.
Right.
So,
playing for the team, and even Marshall Faulk wasn't drafted by the Rams.
There you go.
Is it Edgerrin James and the Colts, maybe?
Ravens?
Who was the back when they won this most recent one?
Yeah, didn't they have Jamal Lewis? Not the most recent one, the one before that.
The 2000?
Yeah.
No. I don't think so. I'm trying to remember.
In 13? I think he was gone.
No, not 13 when they had the good defense.
In
Jamal
2000?
In the 2000 against the Giants. But okay, so but all right, even if we want to use that, let's just go ahead and grab that. And we use that as the example and say
21 years ago.
You got to go 21 years back to a completely different NFL.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. It's puzzling to say the least.
Yeah, or the Rams. Yeah, the Rams with Marshall Faulk, I guess.
But again, they didn't draft him. The Colts.
No, they didn't. Okay, yeah.
All right,
They traded for him.
Let's talk about this. So we just mentioned the Ravens, and now we see Rashad Bateman go to the Ravens. No question that Lamar Jackson needed guys with pass catching ability. I guess the question is this the right guy with pass catching ability? Because I think we know what the issues are with Lamar Jackson's bad accuracy. You need a guy who can help him out by either being extremely open or by being a really good contested catch guy. So how do you think Rashad Bateman fits the bill?
I think he is more the contested catch guy than maybe the sprinters that were going earlier, right? The guys that'll run themselves open, and so this may fit more of the guy who go up and get a jump ball. I mean, I don't think you can have too many good guys to get out there. And Lamar Jackson should continue to develop as a passer. I think it's interesting that they went this route because I think their offense may be as far as it can go, right? If you're going to run the ball as many times as they run the ball, how much do you want to invest in the receiving core? Because they keep knocking their receivers but not throwing the football. Right. Like you talk to people in Baltimore, they're like, oh, all these wasted picks, and they talk about all their wideouts. Do they throw them? Are they not open, or do they not get the ball thrown their way? They run the ball so much. But I mean, I think this is the next guy for most people on the board to come off for wideouts. So I don't think it's unexpected. It's not a reach. Certainly, it's the neighborhood he was supposed to go. And the Ravens are a really good organization, so I'm more inclined to tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. Right. Although receiver is the one spot that they don't seem to be able to get right.
All right,
Dan, you see a guy go to Baltimore and give the Ravens theoretically a receiving option. Soren just made a very good point to say it's not the first time they've tried to draft to help Lamar Jackson. But if you are a team that's based on the run, the way Baltimore is, do you think it's smart value to use a high pick on a receiver, or should they have gone somewhere else?
I'm off the Ravens. I think you've seen the arc of Lamar Jackson, and he's coming back down. That's the way I've always felt about guys like that. It's the same thing you saw out of Cam Newton. They burn brightly, and then they come back down, and
they get beat to hell.
Yeah, they get beat to hell. They get figured out, and you see it with Colin Kaepernick. You see they get figured out. NFL coordinators, defensive coordinators, they figure it out, and they're hard to deal with for a time, and then that time is over. And I think that time has come, and it was very hard to deal with for it burned very brightly for Lamar Jackson, and that was a very short time. It was basically a season and a half, 2 seasons, and it's over. I'm off the Ravens. You can do whatever you want with those. You can throw receivers at them. You can get them more. You can run wild. Whatever you could do with Lamar Jackson. They're still going to win games. They're going to be games where he's impossible to stop. But it's not going to be, hey, this guy, you're going to ride this guy to a championship.
The Ravens remind me, like, the Ravens are kind of like the analytical darling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they do everything that you're supposed to do. And there's a reason why, like, the over-unders, like, the 16-game season, right? It's a new beast at 17 games. But, 11.5, you kept seeing the Pats at 11.5 every year, right? Like, why aren't they taking that number higher? Well, because the computers tell you everything's going to get dragged back to the norm. But in reality, extremes are a definite, right? So everybody's 4.5. Like, they're going to win at least 4 games. And we know there's going to be 2 and 14 teams. But the computers can't spit that back out because the law of averages is you're going to come back towards the 10-6 to 6-10 range. But within that, though, there's going to be an outlier. And the Ravens seem to be that team that lives not in the 6-10 to 10-6. They do everything the right way, but they never do that extreme maneuver, right? Like the Chiefs, Sammy Watkins was a bad sign, 3 years, $48 million. And you look at his production, you'll be like, that's terrible. But then they got to the playoffs and they ran into 2 good corners, and the mismatch was with their third receiver, right? And Kelsey wasn't open and Tyreek Hill was open. And there was one of the times that Sammy Watkins ended up being healthy. And in 2019, he had a big playoffs because their third wideout was better than everybody else's corner. That 3 years, $48 million was a terrible pick, and the Ravens would never make that signing, but it may have been the signing that actually put them over the top to win the championship along the way. He had a huge day against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So if they don't make that bad sign that didn't pay dividends throughout most of the regular season, they may not have the right pieces to come back against the 49ers. And the Ravens would never make that signing, so they would get down 20-10, and they would lose the game valiantly 23-13, and everyone would talk about what a great organization they are, but they wouldn't be holding a Lombardi trophy. And I think that's kind of how they draft along the way. It's always the right pick within this parameter, but it's never reaching for the stars.
So now go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead, Candy. Go.
Well, we hadn't gotten to the Browns pick, which they ended up taking Newsome from Northwestern. And I thought it piggybacked very well off what Soren was saying, which is that when Sammy Watkins breaks out as a third receiver, when you can only cover 2 guys, then you obviously have a mismatch that you can take advantage of. And it kind of seems to me like the Browns are looking at that. They are looking directly at the Chiefs. And with what they've done with this entire offseason, whether it's Troy Hill, whether it's John Johnson, now whether it's Newsome in the first round, you add in Grant Delpit coming back, and you talk about having Denzel Ward. It seems to me they're looking right at the Chiefs and saying, we have got to put as many guys that we think can cover on the field as is humanly possible if we're going to have any chance of getting past them.
Yeah, and I think listen, there's one of we talked about Denver taking the corner, right? And Dan, we were on our broadcast here, and I said, they're like, well, everyone's trying to stop the Chiefs. I'm like, well, I mean, the goal is to beat the Chiefs, right? Not to stop the Chiefs necessarily. So is the best way to beat the Chiefs to boat race them and outscore them, or is the best way to beat the Chiefs to go out and try to stop them? And I think that's what teams, if you don't have the quarterback, you have no choice but to try to at least slow them down. But if you have the quarterback, like the Chargers, now they got protection for their quarterback, but it's okay to go get a boat race. We know the Raiders, the only team that really beat them until they were banged up in the Super Bowl and got bludgeoned by the Bucs, but the only team that beat them by getting to 40 and kept scoring and stayed aggressive. The Panthers almost beat them by staying aggressive, going forward on fourth downs and onside kicks, and they put them up against it at that point. And so I listen, I get what Cleveland's doing, but Cleveland can think that they're, kind of to the point that Dan had about the Ravens. Run, ground and pound. It sounds great. Everybody gets excited about it. Seattle runs the ball. Baltimore runs the ball. And what happens? Tennessee runs the ball. And what happens? They get into a playoff game. Even when Derrick Henry was running wild against the Patriots and going for 200 and some odd yards 2 years ago, and Twitter's blowing up about how Henry's just killing the Patriots, no one was mentioning the fact that it was 14-13 Titans.
Yeah.
Right? They were up 1. There was not an ass kicking going on. Yes, the Patriots were going to wake up with bruises, but they were not getting their ass kicked on the scoreboard. They may have been beaten up on the field, but they were still one throw away from winning that game. Now, the Titans were able to finish it off, but Titans couldn't bludgeon their way against the Chiefs. They got 60 yards in like 12 minutes in 19 by Derrick Henry. Then the Chiefs offense got a couple of scores, and he didn't do anything the rest of the game. So, the Browns, I think still firepower might not have been the worst thing. And I think you were going to see that, like, I think there's going to be a run of a whole bunch of receivers, because I do think you have to throw the ball to win. You run when you're winning, but you throw to win.
By the way, our plan to beat the Chiefs is not to outscore you, not to stop you. We are going to outcoach you, because Andy Reid cannot match wits with Vic Fangio. That's our plan.
I'm well aware. I'm well aware.
So watch out.
Before I get grades on the 3 AFC West picks from the guys outside the market, I wanted to throw this one up there. This one is related to a lot of the negativity around Alex Leatherwood. JT the Brick says, national champion, Outland Trophy winner, first team All-American, and you act like they drafted a bum from the Mountain West Conference. # Raider Nation.
Who does JT work for?
Lotus
Sorry, Steve, I couldn't hear you.
Lotus Broadcasting and Sirius XM.
The team? Oh, okay.
Well, someone's got to push back. I'll go check Vinny Bonsignor's tweets as well in a couple minutes. Really interesting. A guy named Turner just went to Houston. I don't know what Sean Payton was doing today. I think he was talking directly to Schefter and to Glazer. So he started this whole rumor about, hey, we're going to trade into the top 10. And then it was like, hey, if they're not going to get a quarterback, both guys ran with it. It could be Caleb Farley. They never made a deal. Then Schefter 7 hours ago comes out with this tweet that I put up a couple seconds ago, and draft offensive lineman. Here's a name that could be called tonight. Peyton Turner. Like, I don't even know what is Sean Payton doing? Like, just feeding guys? Like, why would you even tell Schefter? And then he takes him. He took Peyton Turner. That's where Schefter got it from.
I have been told that Sean Payton cannot help himself. Like, you're talking about a guy who went out. You're not supposed to talk to the undrafted free agent when your draft is over.
You meant he's chatty, right? He's chatty.
Yeah, he can't.
Now he throws us back.
Yeah, he got busted for like every team does this, right? As soon as their last pick's off the board, even before 6th, 7th round, they all start getting on the phone with the guys that they don't think are drafted and start cutting the deals. And they start finding out, okay, you're going to get an $80,000 signing bonus over here. We'll give you $100,000. And they're cutting the deals. They're not supposed to, but they all do it. Peyton last year Sean Payton gets on the phone, and then you find out that, like, hey, we're going to sign you this. No, so-and-so called us, and they're going to take us with their 7th round pick. And so then they go, like, anytime you see somebody trade back into the draft, right? So if they don't have another pick, and all of a sudden they trade a future pick for a 7th this year, I will almost guarantee you that they were on the phone with the agent, said, hey, what's it going to take to sign him? And he goes, we got a team that's already guaranteed they're going to take us at this point. And so then they go and engineer a trade, get back in front of that team and take him. Well, Sean Payton did that last year for the quarterback, the running quarterback, kind of like, the guy he's already got, like 2.0.
Like Taysom Hill. Yeah. I cannot remember the goddamn name. Who was it?
It's the Mississippi State quarterback, I think.
It wasn't Nick Fitzgerald, was it?
Was it Nick Fitzgerald, or was it the guy who came after Fitzgerald? It was last year's draft.
Right.
Anyway, he goes out and then he announces, yeah, we heard that he was going to get taken, so we knew we had to get back into the draft and draft him. And he just says it. And it's a rule. Everybody does it, but you just don't say it. Right?
You know who it was? It was the former Penn State guy who transferred down there, Tommy Stevens.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like Sean Payton, yeah, of course he's talking. He talks to everybody.
Weird.
He's not a bad guy. I've interviewed him before. I like Sean Payton. I wish, trust me, it'd probably be a lot more fun to cover Sean Payton than Andy Reid, because Andy Reid ain't going to tell you shit.
It's up to you, Petro.
Yeah.
I'm sure he tells you everything.
I think I get as much as anybody gets, and it's like you can milk that teat for hours and you might get a drop. Like just a drop.
Bills are up now. Candy, do you think they freak out and take a running back?
And do you have any money on them taking a running back?
I do not. I do not. Yeah, go ahead. Add Javonte Williams. You know what? You got Zach Moss. You got Singletary. Neither of them are the answer. Just go throw one more in the mix. It's fine. Josh Allen's your best running back regardless. So
how about Owosu Koromoa? That would be a nice pick, right? They, I know their linebackers are good, but they could use a little more depth at linebacker. So we'll see what they do here with their pick. All right, let's go around well, I at least want to ask the guys in Denver and Kansas City. And Petro, are you good, or you got to run?
No, I'm good. I'm answering just something from other people, but no, they haven't called for me yet. I'm good.
Okay, real quick. So Petro, grade the Broncos with their pick of a cornerback in Surtain, and the Chargers with Rashawn Slater, offensive lineman.
Premium positions, getting top of the draft guys. I mean, I think you have to like it, but they're in a spot where they should get those guys. Yep. But with those picks, with picks that high, you need to be taking corners, left tackles. You need to be taking guys that can make a difference. And they got top of the board guys. Yep. And I like it. I mean, I think Chargers get a left tackle that is supposed to be one of two left tackles that can step in and play right away. And so I think that's a great pick for them to protect their investment in their quarterback, give him every possible opportunity to succeed and gain confidence, which is what I believe the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. I think they've handled him, perfectly. He's clearly a talented guy, and they made the right choice. But they've also, they had two great tackles, or a very good tackle on the left side and a great right tackle, and then gave him all kinds of weapons. And so I love that move. And I think for the Broncos, look, their personality is what it is. Yep. I think it would have been.
What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, defense. Right? They're going to try to win with defense. And
not a bad thing.
If they land Aaron Rodgers, right, the pick's going to look great because they've got guys to throw to when they're healthy. And so that pick's going to make a lot more sense if on down the road we find out they end up getting Aaron Rodgers. But, and maybe that pick, like as Dan was saying, maybe that pick will be part of the package. Who knows? But I don't think you can fault getting what they feel is the number one corner in the draft. I think that's a good value to come away with that.
Dan, grade the Chargers and the Raiders.
Well, I don't mind the Chargers pick. Good quality, tackle there. Now the Raiders. Hey, who can doubt JT? Right? If JT says it's fine,
all right,
it's fine.
Take it easy. All right.
No, I love JT. We all worked with JT.
In the same building with him.
Yeah, we all worked with JT back in the Sportsman day.
We know the deal. He's tight with the Raiders, and
yes.
By the way, he's not wrong because, as Petro said when he came in, just because a guy is slated, to go further down in the draft doesn't mean he's a bad player. I think it means you're not playing the draft the right way. Colton Miller's turned out to be a pretty good player, right? They got him signed. Maybe it's going to be at a discount as compared to some other guys out there. So that worked out. It's just the draft game. I think if you're trying to grade all of it, the quality of the player, his future, and also where you could have got him and maybe who else you could have got, you can't really give him a great grade. But it doesn't mean that Leatherwood is going to suck.
If the boards that we see out there are right, and you could have had him at 40, then you move back and you pick up picks. I mean, the Cowboys moved back from 10 to 12 and didn't get enough value, right? Like the trade chart says they should have gotten more to move back 2 spots. They only got a third-round pick, a mid or late third-round pick when they dropped back with the Eagles. But if they got the guy they wanted anyway and they got a free third-round pick, that's managing the board. And the Raiders don't seem to ever manage the board. Like, have they traded down with any of their first, second, or thirds? I mean, listen, I'm going to tell you, Brett Veach has done a fantastic job, but there is a flaw in his game. He's never traded down. Now, I think you're going to see it tomorrow night. I think one of his seconds, he's going to move down to get back some of the capital he lost with the third and fourth to go get Orlando Brown. And it's something that at some point he has to do. But if you never trade up, if you never trade down, then you're not managing the game because there's value to be had And if you're not picking up that value along the way, then you're walking too narrow a path to try to have success.
They got to start being right. You can't do Henry Ruggs and then the other way and be wrong all the time about it. If they're right on this, then they'll be right. But if they're wrong about it every year and they don't start making the playoffs, then that's going to be the issue. That's the issue. They have a track record of it not looking good. This one continues to not look good.
Yeah,
we'll let it play out.
Go ahead, Candy.
No, Dan, it's the pause. The entire answer is on the pause, which is then and because as long as Mark Davis still has the giant man crush that he has on John Gruden, then it's a jury of one. It doesn't matter what the fans think. It doesn't matter what Mike Mayock says or does. In the end, as long as Mark Davis is still sitting at the PF Chang's, shoving down fried rice with a picture of John Gruden in his wallet, then none of this matters because they're going to be allowed to be wrong as many times as they want. Now, I know I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but in the end, what dissatisfaction have you seen from Mark Davis with John Gruden with 3 completely unsuccessful years in which this franchise is no farther along than it was than the day he walked into the building? None.
Well, they're not as bad as they were then.
It's funny. Their record after Gruden's first 3 years is worse than Jack Del Rio's 3 years.
They seem, well, because they had that 1 year where they were trending when they shouldn't have been trending, so they don't seem as bad. But
Jack Del Rio had him rolling, and Derek Carr hurt his thumb.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen him rolling into the playoffs yet under John Gruden.
Well, when you're sitting in Denver and things are as bad as they've been here, the Raiders just seem a little better than maybe they really are.
I mean, how are they not? Why is it not the Raiders that we're hearing are calling about Aaron Rodgers?
We did hear. Well, we heard that they were in play.
Yeah, the Raiders are on the list, but you're right. That maybe that would save a lot of it. I'll tell you this: if the Broncos get freaking Aaron Rodgers and the Raiders can't swing a deal, put something together to get him, then maybe it is time to move on from Mark Davis. You cannot let Aaron Rodgers come to the goddamn division and go to the Broncos. It cannot happen. And I'll give you the other thing, and this is something Candy's heard me go on and on and on about. I'm not the biggest hockey guy, but Jesus Christ, the Knights have come in. The standard they've set here. I mean, I think a lot of people here are like, yay, they're still in kind of happy mode. Every year, Foley's like, we're winning the Stanley Cup. And if we don't get it done, we're moving people. Look at them now. Look at their record. And that's the standard. Like normally I would never prop up an NHL team and go, hey, that's a team in the market. You got to meet that expectation, NFL. We gave the Raiders $750 million for that stadium. Let's go. Look at what the Knights do. Dare to be the Golden Knights. Get it together. Fuck. Thank God the building's empty.
Next
Dare
year.
to be the Golden Knights.
Well,
words to live by.
One, it's a great statement that will certainly ruffle the fans of the feathers of the Raiders fans. And I completely stole it from the Sports Big, who used to do Dare to be whatever.
Right.
I'm knocking on wood. You got me fired up, Steve.
Yes, I know. Now you're going to go out and smoke 37 racks of ribs and your $7,000 speaker and be just covered in barbecue sauce and rub.
Yes.
Rub. All right, Petro, we'll let you go. Dan, we appreciate it, man. That was cool. Thanks for jumping in, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. See you, Dan. There he goes. Judge Dan. Petro's out. All right, Candy. We can wrap it, or you want to go to the end of the first round? So Russo, 6'7", 265, not a project, but definitely an upside guy. He just went third. And, when you look at what the Bills are doing, they really have changed from 5 years ago where you're like the Bills are a joke. The way they draft now and the way they deal in free agency, they are one of the great franchises in football.
There's absolutely no question about the way they've built this team and the respect you have to give to this franchise from ownership on down. And they go out now, they get Rousseau, and this is exactly where you draft Rousseau, right? This is a guy with freakish athletic talent at defensive end. What was the problem for this team last year? Where there were two of them. One, they couldn't stop the run for anything. And two, they couldn't get after the passer. They had no consistent pressure on the passer from the front four. Well, here's a guy you're taking a shot at fixing that with. Also, by the way, a guy like Rousseau is going to make a player like Ed Oliver better. because everyone on that defensive line benefits from someone else taking up multiple linemen, right? If you have to double somebody, everybody else gets better along that line. Who knows if Rousseau is that guy? Probably not at 31 immediately, but you take that kind of talent at that point and you hope that it works out correctly, right? You take high ceiling at that point when you are the Bills, because you're the Bills and you have built out that roster to the point where you can look around and say, what else did we really need to do with this roster? Not much.
Doug making the comment, mocking on Big Adam. Bills are now a quarterback away. That will
Well
be,
done. Well done.
That will be his line. But let's be honest, and I'm not doing this on the air, but deep down, Adam has to know whether he likes or hates Josh Allen. We know he hates him. He dumped out of the Bills at the worst time. They really have become, with the GM coach combo, a really good organization, and they're going to win for a while. Like, he jumped off at the worst point. They're going to be a top five for a long time in the AFC.
I think he needs to do one of those things where, as the Bills Mafia bandwagon continues to get bigger and bigger, just sort of like casually slide his way back in. Like, don't put the shirt on or anything. Don't like buy a Josh Allen jersey, but like just sort of see if he can work his way like into the back of the picture. Like, oh, like who's that random head in the Bills team picture? Oh, it's Adam. Oh, Adam's back, right? Just see if maybe he can do it quietly, because there's going to be no graceful way after the way he exited Bills land, after the way he sold Apple at like $50 when it went to $500. No chance he can get back in easily.
Instant reaction as we close here, and we'll do more of this tomorrow because Candy's on Cofield and Company tomorrow. We're going to start normal time and go 2 to 6, and we'll track what's going on in the second round of the draft, but we're going to be on the whole time. Your early thoughts? Who? If you're going to give a grade, who did a great job tonight in the first round? Who do you really like and what they did? Because I'm going to go with an easy and obvious one and sort of low hanging fruit. So go ahead and steal it away if you want.
No, I'm gonna give you one that I think is a really obvious one. I'm gonna give you another one that I don't think is quite so obvious. My obvious one is actually the San Francisco 49ers. We heard so much about the Mac Jones hype. Who knows who was putting it out there? That's part of my point about draft betting that we talk about over and over again, is that it's all movements on air. It's all what someone said to you as an anonymous source. We're not changing anything based on actual performance. And so the move to make Mac Jones the betting favorite at number 3 was always crazy because we never knew. The 49ers locked in on the guy with the highest ceiling. There's no question in my mind that the highest ceiling player was Trey Lance. And Kyle Shanahan trusts himself. Kyle Shanahan trusted himself as a developer of quarterbacks and said, I don't care if this guy has a chance of going bust. I don't care if he doesn't have the long background that we do on guys like Justin Fields. I am going for the guy who gives him a chance to become Patrick Mahomes, because that's it. If you are drafting a quarterback at 3 and you don't think that guy can become at least a reasonable facsimile of a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, then what are you doing? And Mac Jones had no chance of becoming a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So to the San Francisco 49ers, I give a high grade because they found their guy. They stuck to their guns even when it wasn't as obvious as some people thought it was. And they went out and did what they needed to do. I think the less obvious one, and maybe you think this is the obvious one, I don't know. Chicago could not have waited to find out whether Andy Dalton was taking them anywhere. They had a fan base that was ready to murder them. They made the decision to bring back Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace as the head coach GM combo, right? And we worried that they were going to make every decision based on short-term thinking because those guys both only have 1 year left on their contracts, and they didn't. They went out and they got Justin Fields, who, when this is all said and done, 4 or 5 years from now, when we're really evaluating this, would I bet against Justin Fields being the best quarterback in this draft? Nope. Not for a second. Not for a second with the level of talent that he has. And I said this on the show earlier today. Does anyone care in Chicago that the Bears gave up a first-round pick to move up?
Nope.
They don't care. They don't care. They have Khalil Mack. They have Allen Robinson. They have a talented roster. And frankly, they have years and years of watching Aaron Rodgers beat their ass into the ground. And so they want to win. They want to have a chance. And more than anything, they want hope. They don't care about the hope of a first round pick. Give us a hope of guy in the building who is going to make us better. Justin Fields has a chance to be that guy. Move up, make the choice. That's your guy. So for me, those are the two that I think did the best, San Francisco and Chicago.
From the rest of the room, yeah, if you guys got who did the best in the first round, Uncle Pecos says Giants did a good job. I guess A++ for trading down. I think he's being serious. It's being serious. Whoever you are is being serious in getting Kadarius Toney and getting some extra value. You were shaking your head earlier. You're a Giants fan, Candy.
I mean, look, if it's way too early, of course, but that's what we do. I'll give the Giants a B+ overall. Trading back and getting another first round pick is huge. It's what you do with it that ultimately matters next year. We saw that with John Gruden accumulating three first round picks and then, blowing them on a running back in the first round and a guy who's never going to be the number 4 pick and a guy who probably will not have his 5th-year option picked up in Jonathan Abram. So you can't look at it and say, hey, great, you got a first-round pick. You have to see what they ultimately do with it. I think Kadarius Toney fits the Giants well. It's a reach in terms of, did you draft the best player you could have? You have a defense that has many, many holes, but they think they fixed those. They think that by signing Adoree Jackson, pairing him up with James Bradberry, they think they have a pair of corners. They still don't have a pass rush to speak of. I think they could have taken some chances there. But you know what? If you have Kadarius Toney above Kwity Paye, above Gregory Rousseau, above Jalen Phillips on your board, okay, then do it. Kadarius Toney has a chance to be a game-breaking player for the New York Giants. So I don't think you can give them a home run grade, but they did well.
Yeah, again, going back to the original question, the low-hanging fruit to me in the winner, the Bears, and Doug Cross says it here, Bears rolling the dice. I don't think it's much of a roll. Once Fields was available, that's a great move to jump up and get him. And, we'll talk about this next week with Petro. Petro really believes in Matt Nagy, and I kind of take Petro's advice on this one that Nagy can coach. He just hasn't had the guy at quarterback, and, him as a quarterback whisperer and getting to work with Justin Fields, I think is going to be awesome. And I'll give the other, it's not a sleeper because it's one of the bigger name franchises. I know the Cowboys have a history of, overlooking transgressions. The fact that the Cowboys at least stayed disciplined, they didn't listen to Jerry Jones and go and grab more offense and try to trade up to get Kyle Pitts. I love that they addressed the defense. And Micah Parsons is probably the best, from a natural athlete standpoint, talent standpoint, was probably the best defensive player available in this draft. So I love that the Cowboys got Micah Parsons. I think we'll keep it together. And, the stuff that he got embroiled in, I'm not going to say it's nothing. But I will tell you, there's a lot of people in the football world who are like, big deal. I did the same thing. You shouldn't be doing that shit. It happens. Kids get this freaking herd mentality and act like buffoons. So I think the Cowboys job, at least addressing the side of the ball they need to address. The offense, you're pretty much set. Maybe they could have. I guess you could argue they could have taken Slater because who knows what's going to happen at left tackle moving forward. But I like the fact that they went out and got the most talented guy on the board.
And yeah, it's all context, right, Steve? Because the perfect pick for the Cowboys was either J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain II, and neither of them were there. They got jobbed. They got jobbed by Carolina and Denver, taking the guys who probably fit the best for that team. I hadn't seen a mock out there that didn't have one of those two cornerbacks going to Dallas. And so what'd they do? They reacted well in the moment. Those two guys went both right in front of them. They trade back with the Eagles. They get another pick. And Soren made the point, right? He said, look, getting that 3rd round pick from the Eagles to trade back isn't necessarily what's on the trade chart, but you got something to move back 2 picks. And a 3rd round pick is valuable. Just ask Dak Prescott. So, a 3rd round pick can mean something to that franchise. They drafted on the right side of the ball. And, that's where we come. And look, we come back to the Raiders, right? And you can't give the Jaguars overall a failing grade because you drafted Trevor Lawrence, right? You did the obvious thing. The Travis Etienne pick is a friggin' disaster. That is an absolute miss by that franchise.
Yeah.
Because also, that's one of the picks you got for Jalen Ramsey. Do you think Travis Etienne has half a chance to be the player Jalen Ramsey is? Anyway, but when it comes to the Raiders, you can't check any box for the Raiders with Alex Leatherwood, right? You can't say he was the best player at his position. You can't say he was the best player available. You can't say that he fills the most obvious need on your team. So what can you say? you can't say anything. You drafted a run blocker. And I've said this facetiously 100 times. John Gruden continues to build 1995's best team, right? Yep. He is building on an old philosophy. And until Mark Davis decides that he's done watching this, then, none of it's going to matter for Raider fans.
Mark, I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't get the miracle, the Hail Mary at the end of the first round. The Buccaneers went defense as well. So no Davis Mills, no Kellen Mond. So no over 5.5 quarterbacks in the first round. Oh, well. Oh, if I want to bet tonight, I'm going to have to go check my William Hill account and see if I got it. But I was doing bets along the lines of shits and giggles. So, Candy, thank you, man. I just asked you tonight, just so the audience knows, I asked Candy tonight to help be alongside in this thing, and he stayed here for a full 2 hours plus. So I appreciate it. I thought that was really good. I thought it was really good, and good job by Petro and Jacobs and even Adam Hill jumping in for a couple minutes, and early on Caleb Herring and Q Meyer. So we're back tomorrow at 2:00. We'll have a bunch of cool guests on, I'm sure, to break things down, and we appreciate it. Most of all, we appreciate that people stayed with us the entire time for 2 hours. So that was awesome. Thank you, Candy.
Good stuff, dude. Love talking.